NY is brought to you by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. By Fios by Verizon. Fios is not cable. We're wired differently. Visit getfios.com today. And by Meadowlands. Watch and wager on the Kentucky Derby this Saturday at Meadowlands Racetrack. Visit playmeadowlands.com. The Mets welcome back Dead & Company to Citi Field Saturday, June 24th. Original Grateful Dead members are united with an all-star cast, including John Mayer. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Dead & Company. SunTrust Park, the newest home of the Braves, whose franchise began back in the 1870s, and they've done a great job celebrating the history here. There's Braves Field near the BU campus, where it all began. Warren Spahn started his career in Boston, then moved with the team to Milwaukee to County Stadium, where Henry Aaron made his name, along with the great third baseman Eddie Matthews. Then it was on to Fulton County Stadium, 1966. The Braves moved there. Hall of Famer Phil Niekro, two-time MVP Dale Murphy, and then in the 90s, Turner Field and the great triumvirate of starters, and their future Hall of Famer Chipper Jones. And they've got all the banners displayed here, which is a real upgrade from what they had at Turner Field. A nice job of the folks connected with the Braves, celebrating the entire century-plus history of the Braves. Mets and Braves at SunTrust Park. First pitch from here coming right up. Well, Bartolo Colon's first start of the season was in his old haunts at Citi Field against the Mets, and he pitched wonderfully for 6 innings on that day. And here he is back to face the Mets in his new haunts.
Well, he's still chasing Dennis Martinez and Juan Marichal for all-time leadership.
Michael Conforto leads off. Colon's first pitch is inside, and we're underway. Conforto 4 for 8 in this series, has driven in 3 runs. Continues to scorch the ball out of the leadoff spot, batting leadoff for the 12th time.
And as we mentioned in the open, Conforto's .451 on base percentage from the leadoff spot is head and shoulders above anybody else in Major League Baseball.
In fact, the next highest is Adam Eaton at 388. And of course, Eaton is done for the season after that horrific play at first base that tore up his leg.
It was an ACL, wasn't it?
ACL, a high ankle sprain, also had torn meniscus. I mean, he just
that was ugly.
Obliterated that leg. That's laced into the gap in right center field. A base hit for Conforto to start the night. It'll roll all the way back to the wall. Conforto to second. He'll stop there with a leadoff double.
Oh, the hit parade goes on. Look at this. Down outer half of the plate. Just a rocket. And Michael continues to rake.
Second double of the year for Conforto. So the Mets instantly have a runner in scoring position for Asdrubal Cabrera. Cabrera 2 for 7 in this series, including a home run.
From the side, look at the balance off the toe, the front foot, perfect balance, straight up and down. Boy, I've always loved his swing, Gare. You know that.
And he seems right now, Keith, to have an ability to cover both sides of the plate.
And let's not forget now, he's only had 8 at-bats against left-handers this season. And in that Washington series off that hard-throwing left-hander took him opposite field.
That was against Ian Kroll during the last series. Colon has had some control issues. Well, for him, I mean, normally 1 walk per 9 innings about all that Colon gives up, but he's at 2.2 walks per 9 innings. He's been a little bit off with his control early. One of the reasons he's lugging around a 5.5 ERA. Gave up 6 runs in 5 innings in his last start against the Brewers. And Cabrera gets ahead of one and hooks it down the line, foul. Here's your Geico Mets starting the lineup. Travis d'Arnaud out of the lineup after re-injuring his sprained right wrist. Might be available tonight, but also might not be, and still unknown whether he is a DL candidate. So Rene Rivera is in there. Mets shored up their bench today. They activated Wilmer Flores off the disabled list. He had been out with a staph infection. Sean Gilmartin goes back to Vegas, so the Mets now have a full complement of 5 on their bench.
All right-hand hitters.
Poked down the left field line by Cabrera, and that's going to land for a base hit and roll back to the wall, and Conforto will come in with the game's first run. Back-to-back doubles to start the night, and the Mets have an instant 1-0 lead.
He just kind of reached out. His ball's out of the strike zone, Gare, up and away. He just flipped his bat. That ball's outside, almost a foot. He just kind of slaps it into left field. That's a case where you could not do that if the ball is down. But when the ball's up, look how he can stay level on the level plane. Doesn't take much just to poke it there. By the way, Cabrera has not had much success in the past off Colon.
Only his second hit in 21 career at bats. And now Jay Bruce, who had a career night last night with 6 RBIs, and he takes up and away for ball 1. Bruce hit a 2-run homer his first time up last night, and then a grand slam with 2 out of the ninth. He had never had a 6 RBI game before. Already his 3rd multiple home run game this year. So the Mets have already cashed 1 and looking for more against Colon. And picks off the inside corner 1-1.
There's only been 3 other players, Gary, with 6 RBI games in the Met uniform.
In a loss.
Okay, yes.
It's a dubious distinction at best.
Well, you did your best to help get a win.
Off speed pitch by Colon, so resorting to the changeup early in the game, and it's 1-2. Yeah, the others were Frank Thomas in 1962, the original Frank Thomas, at the Polo Grounds against the Phillies. Robin Ventura at Wrigley Field in '99, and Mike Piazza in Philly in 2002. The other Mets who had 6 RBIs in a loss, as Bruce did last night. 1-2 to Jay. Flowers sets up outside, and a tapper foul. Another off-speed pitch by Colon.
And the Brave defense brought to you by Coors Light, of course. And this is a club that's got a pretty steady lineup. That outfielder trio is fantastic. And Jace Peterson, the only starter today, left-hand hitting Peterson. They're giving the veteran a rest, and that would be Phillips.
Phillips has been battling a groin injury, just a day off for him. And Bruce grounds one foul. Interesting that Colon has already thrown 2 changeups in this at bat to Bruce. I don't know that we've ever seen him do that in the first inning, except when he doesn't feel right. And he's off to a rocky start here.
Both base hits were fastballs, Gary, and I think he's just decided to change the program here. I don't think he's been watching too. He's seen Bruce swing the bat. Both Bruce's home runs were fastballs last night.
The same Colon who we've seen year after year. 87% of his pitches this year have been fastballs, and he runs that one inside. Another off-speed pitch, and it's 2-2. Last year 89% was the highest in the majors.
He threw a slider right there just to show no intention with 1 and 2 to throw it for a strike, hoping to get Bruce to flail at it.
Looking for his first out of the night. Cabrera at second with a run already home. 7th pitch of the at bat to Bruce, and he flips one outside, a changeup and a full count. So he's thrown 4 pitches in this at bat that have not been fastballs, which rarely ever happens with Colon. You see the slugging percentage leaders. Ryan Zimmerman named National League Player of the Month. Freddie Freeman would have won it in any other month, but Zimmerman was just spectacular in his comeback season. 3-2 coming, and he walked him. So Bruce works out a walk, and the first 3 Mets have all reached base against Colon.
I get the feeling that this ballpark here, Colon's been around, and he's already mentioned to some of his former teammates that he's not too kosher with this park. He said basically said the ball jumps here, and as a pitcher, that's got to make you feel like when you don't have overpowering stuff like Bartolo, you've got to be precise with every pitch.
And he tends to be a fly ball pitcher, which doesn't bode well for him pitching in this park. Here's Neil Walker, 3 for 8 in this series. 3 infielders on the right side, 2 on and nobody out. And Walker hits one down the left field side. That'll go foul.
If you look at Walker's stance from the side, and he's very close together. Most hitters today are more widespread, further apart, more than their shoulders. I was shoulder width. This is less than shoulder width. It gives you more freedom of hips, that's for sure. It all depends on the length of the stride, because it doesn't matter if you have your feet together or your feet, 4 feet apart, 3 feet apart. It's your stride. If you overstride, you tend to lock your hips. And you can get off your couches at home, folks, and try it if you want, and you'll see you'll lock your hips. You got to have rotation, trunk rotation when you hit.
So there's a key for unlocking your hips.
Yes.
Rotating your trunk is the key.
You got to be able to turn. The belly button's got to be facing the pitcher at contact. Follow me?
No, absolutely. That's a great visual.
It's the same. It's the same for some. the same principle in golf.
Oh, and 2 to Walker with Granderson on deck. And Neal hits one well to right field. Back goes Markakis. It's over his head. And one hop to the wall. Cabrera is in. Bruce will stop at third. Third double of this first inning. Neil Walker drives a run home, and it's 2-0 New York. And the Mets jumping all over their former mate Bartolo Colon in this first inning.
Fastball away, reached out. That's just a little flick of the wrist right there. And look how far this ball goes. Now, it's 375 to the gap. And it's an easy read for Cabrera. He does everything right, but Freddie Freeman didn't do that last night and didn't score on a double from second. Bruce, the plays in front of him, but he needs no help from his third base coach.
So 2 runs are in, 2 in scoring position, still nobody out. And here's Curtis Granderson trying to get out of a horrific slump, and he takes a strike from Cologne. Granderson pinch hit last night, otherwise had the night off. 0 for 15 on this road trip, just 1 hit in his last 32 at bats. And Curtis pops one up.
Boy, Curtis is really having a tough one.
Swanson waiting for it, and that is the first out of the night. Let's go back to Walker's hit.
Okay, and we'll remember now it's an off-speed pitch. It's not that big a stride. You see the hip rotation there. Ryan Howard, if you recall, folks, would step with that front foot and would never. He would always front foot. He would stride, and his foot would face parallel lead foot to the third base line. He would never turn it towards the pitcher, and he would lock his hips. And he was a power guy, which was just how strong he was upper body.
Jose Reyes fouls one back.
He never used his lower half, and I always felt that if he would have been able to fly open that as he swung, to open up his striding foot and pointed it towards the pitcher, he would have hit balls out of sight and maybe had 50, 60 more home runs.
By the way, Ryan Howard is in the minor leagues with the Braves. They call him up to this ballpark, might keep his career alive for a few years. Reyes pops one up, and Swanson has this one lined up, and it was pushed away by Walker. He forgot how many outs there were, and he stumbled off second base. Neil Walker must have thought there were 2 out. He ran on contact. Jay Bruce waved him to go back, but it was too late, and that gets Bartolo Colon through the inning.
Well, I don't think we're ever going to see him make this mistake again.
Big mental mistake by Walker, a 6-4 double play, and the Mets settle for just the 2 runs in the first inning. Second base. Tyler Flowers back in there behind the plate. Otherwise, it's the usual group for Brian Snitker as they face Jacob DeGrom for the second time this year.
Well, DeGrom lifetime is 3-3 in 9 starts, but a sparkling 1.71 earned run average against the Bravos.
Ender Inciarte leads off against DeGrom and takes the fastball high. In fact, that 1.71 ERA is the lowest ever for any Met pitcher against a particular team, with as many starts as DeGrom has against the Braves. He's got 14 straight scoreless innings against them coming into the night. And it's ball and strike to Inciarte. Inciarte has been an enormous pain to the Mets. 5 for 9 in this series with a double and a home run, in addition to his outstanding defense. And he bluffs the bunt, takes a strike, 1-2.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. David Cone has had 4 consecutive double-digit strikeouts. Dwight Gooden had 5. DeGrom is chasing that. He's got to face a team that does not strike out. It'll be very interesting to see how this transpires.
Yeah, this is a team that puts the ball in play. Not a lot of walks, not a lot of strikeouts. Inciarte slaps one out to short. Rivera playing shallow against Inciarte's speed and gets him for the first out.
The Met Lexus defense. Granderson back in the lineup in center. The 2 corner outfielders we highlighted in the open. Rivera again. He's the first baseman. It looks like they're giving him every opportunity to play. And Rene Rivera, of course, with d'Arnaud with that wrist, is going to get some playing time now too. It looks like.
Here's Adonis Garcia, 3 for 7 in this series, and takes a fastball for a strike. I mentioned the strikeouts with DeGrom. His last 3 starts, all double digits. 35 strikeouts total in those 3 starts.
He's only had 1 bad start, Gary, and that was the home game against Washington. Washington kind of kicked him around a little bit. Every other start has been fantastic.
Those 35 strikeouts in a 3-start span, the most for any Met since Doc Gooden in his big '85 season. So that's the kind of plateau DeGrom is on right now. I mean, forget the wins and losses. I mean, he's pitched brilliantly, and Garcia called out on strikes, and he joins Inciarte as an unhappy customer with Larry Vanover early on in this game.
9 more.
I mean, Vanover had a terrible night at first base last night. Now again catching some heat for his balls and strikes already. Marquez, Fairchild, and Rackley are the umpires with him. Here's Freddie Freeman with 2 out and nobody on. And Freddie takes a slider for a strike. Well, DeGrom with his first strikeout of the night moves into the National League lead, 1 in front of Clayton Kershaw. Carlos Martinez had a good night last night, finally got his first win. That's pulled into the shift. Walker is there to play it and throws out Freeman, and DeGrom's got himself a 1-2-3 opening inning on just 9 pitches after 1 2-0 Mets.
Don't let this happen to you. It's time for score.
Second inning, Rene Rivera leads off against Bartolo Colon. Mets let Colon off the hook in that first inning. They had 2 runs home, second and third, and nobody out. But a couple of pop-ups and a base running mistake cost the Mets more. They're trying to get it restarted against Bart in the second, and Colon quickly behind on Rivera, 2-0.
So Bart, I'm sorry, Gary.
Line right at the second base middle, 1 hopper to Peterson. Throws out Rivera, 1 away. MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Plus, get a free subscription to At Bat Premium. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. To Rivera's no waiting. TJ hitting 8th, his 6th consecutive start. 2 for 6 so far in this series. Tomorrow the Braves will throw a left-hander, Jaime Garcia, and that'll enable Terry Collins to get Wilmer Flores back into the lineup. But the expectation is that Flores will play second base and give Walker a day off, and that Rivera will continue on at first.
I think a lot will depend on what Walker does tonight. He's been off to a tough start. He started tonight's game at 211. The night before 200. Got 2 hits last night. He's been struggling from the left side of the plate, hitting better from the right. But if he has a big night tonight, you might want to feel like he's finding his rhythm and keep him in the lineup, Gary.
Just to remember how many outs there are. 2-1 to TJ Rivera. Colon now 43 years old. He'll turn 44 in 3 weeks. Oldest player active in Major League Baseball. TJ hits one to center, hits it well, and Ciarte though should have room on the warning track, and he gets there a step from the wall.
Everything is track here. I mean, this is not a park for the lighthearted if you're a pitcher.
There's going to come a time, I would think, when the outfielders start to play a little deeper. You can win Mets tickets and a chance to be on the field to answer Mets trivia. Just follow SNY on Twitter during the 5th inning of tonight's game for details on how to enter the SNY 5th inning sweepstakes presented by your local Ford dealer.
The other thought, Gary, would be what they did at Coors Field, although a much bigger park. Dimension-wise, if the ball's hit hard, it's out of the ballpark, so why not play your outfield in there? You remember when they had that philosophy?
Yeah, I think it's different at Coors because there is so much space, because if a ball gets over your head there, it's an automatic triple, right? Whereas in this ballpark, where the dimensions aren't particularly large, you could probably afford to play a little bit deeper. DeGrom laces one up the middle. That's a base hit. Ciarte over to get it. DeGrom takes the turn, stumbles over the bag at first, so he'll have to settle for a 2-out single. Gets a little smile from Freddie Freeman on his little misstep coming around the bag.
Well, DeGrom can hit. He's got a nice swing. I forgot this is a rematch. The opening series. DeGrom matched up with. Oh, be careful. There goes the pennant.
Well, yeah, they both pitched wonderfully that day. DeGrom threw 6 scoreless innings, and Colon gave up just 1 run, a game the Braves would win in 11. So here's Conforto. Goes after the off-speed pitch, 0-1. Conforto doubled to right center to lead off the game, scored on Cabrera's double. Freeman playing behind DeGrom at first. Caught the corner, 0-2.
2 straight change-ups, got him to fish for one, sinking away in the dirt, and then threw one bending around the inside corner.
I think we've seen Colon throw more off-speed pitches in these first 2 innings than we might have seen him throw in 3 years in any start with the Mets.
Well, this could be a tutorial right here. He's a very wise man out there pitching.
Jams Conforto and gets the comeback. So Colon takes care of the Mets in the 2nd.
Well,
still 2-0 New York.
How come Colon jam you?
glorious Braves home clubhouse.
Now, I wouldn't be very pleased with a pool table in the middle of the locker. That pool table can go back in that game room. And there's a big game room in there too. A big other where the press can't go. All ballparks have that now. All home clubhouses. The players have a place where they can get away.
But you can't put the pool table back where the bunk beds are and the aromatherapy.
That's
for relaxation.
For those of you that missed it, I'm very envious of these Brave players.
Keith wants to climb to the top of the bunk beds. Matt Kemp leads off in the home second and takes a strike from DeGrom.
And what's funny is you think that they have a room, folks, with bunk beds for the players, and you would think that would be more better for our generation of players who probably stayed out a lot longer than these guys do. They take good care of themselves. It's for them because they come to the ballpark at 12 noon, and they're like baseball rats.
Well, they certainly take more batting practice and spend more time in the weight room than
they are
players from previous generations, so that wears them out, and they might need a little snooze.
I'm waiting for Sergeant Carter to come out. It's like a bunk. It's like a platoon. Gomer Pyle, Sergeant Carter.
Atlanta Braves USMC.
Yes. Reveille.
Nick Markakis on deck, then Tyler Flowers in the second against DeGrom, who worked a 1-2-3 first. Kemp fouls off the slider, still 1-2.
You know what's amazing about Kemp? He's only had 5 at-bats this season against left-handers, and he's 2 for 5 with a home run, but 5 at-bats.
The Braves have only faced one left-handed starter this season, and Kemp, remember, was on the DL for 10 days. 1-2 from DeGrom, and he struck him out. Got him with the slider. DeGrom with his second strikeout of the night. He's retired the first 4. Well, these teams playing their third series already this year in the first week in May. Braves have won 4 of the 7 from the Mets. Mets and Braves opened the season against each other at Citi Field, then played a second series in Flushing,
which was unusual. Usually you go back and forth. You play one home, one away. You never get doubled up with 2 series at one stadium.
Of course, one of those games got rained out. It'll be made up in September. Here's Nick Markakis with 1 out, and he flies one out to left, right at Conforto, and that's the second out. Markakis with a soft liner. 97-mile-an-hour fastball from DeGrom. There's a lot on DeGrom's shoulders right now. You know,
yes.
With Syndergaard out and Harvey struggling and Wheeler still trying to get himself settled in, and Gesellman not particularly effective. He's really the only guy that the Mets have going right now in that rotation.
Well, we're through a first month of the season.
I mean, look at that. Last 12 games, ERA of 6.5.
Well, from the season, there's 26 games. The starters are 6-9, Gary, with an ERA of 5.51.
I'll give you another number which is just shocking when you think about the expectations for this team. The Mets coming into the night had given up 142 runs, more runs than any team in the National League.
But you got to consider that one game.
I understand that, but think about what the expectations were, that this team would give up the fewest runs,
right,
or something close to it. They've given up more runs than any team in the league. It's just it's shocking, and you know, that includes all the good work Syndergaard did before he got hurt.
Well, everybody's had a month's work, all the starting 5, and only Harvey has more than 1 win.
2-2 to Tyler Flowers, who was 1 for 4 last night. So DeGrom is, you know, he's right now the ace.
Yes, he is.
Who is standing.
Absolutely. I've liked the way Wheeler has thrown thus far, even though his ERA is close to 5.
Did you find it somewhat curious the way Matt Harvey responded to his start?
I did.
Last night?
I did. Matt said he felt in rhythm and wonderful, and all he needs to work on his command. And I just didn't think he had a good. He was very erratic last night, and I think he admitted to that.
Said he felt the best he had felt in a long time. Little flare behind first, and Rivera can't quite get it. And Flowers has the Braves' first hit of the night. Rivera lost his glove in the effort and comes up flexing that left wrist. A little duck snort by Tyler Flowers gives the Braves their first base run.
Lost his glove in the process.
Planted that wrist right into the ground.
Back to Harvey. It's just hard to look at his line at 5 1/3 here. 8 hits, 6 runs earned, and 3 walks. And only, it's not a good outing. It wasn't a good outing.
I think the the point that he was trying to make was that his stuff was good. Jace Peterson takes a strike.
Well, the Mets are going to need him, and he's coming off that surgery too. So we're in uncharted territory as far as a season after that type of surgery.
Backdoor breaking ball misses to Peterson. It's 1-1. Jace Peterson playing second base. He started at 4 different positions for the Braves already this year. He filled in left field when Kemp was out. Played a game at shortstop, but mostly a second baseman, filling in for Phillips tonight. And a backdoor curveball missing, and it's 2-1. Peterson fouls off the fastball. 2-2. Dansby Swanson on deck. Beautiful day in Atlanta. The weather, though, is going to turn tomorrow. It's supposed to get cool and windy and rainy. Tapped foul. Still 2-2.
And Friday night doesn't look too good in New York.
Well, it was going to be difficult enough for the Mets playing a 7:30 game on getaway day and then playing at home the next night. But if we have any kind of rain delays tomorrow, that's going to make for an even later arrival back in New York. You would figure that would happen the last day of the series. 2-2 coming. And he runs the fastball inside. Full count to Peterson. So DeGrom required only 9 pitches to negotiate the first inning, finding going a little slower here in the second. Flowers will be taking off. Rivera will play behind him with 3-2 and 2 down. Three-2 from DeGrom. And Peterson fouls off the fastball. Braves have been scoring runs, 53 runs in their last 7 games. That's about 7.5 runs per game over that stretch.
Well, the month of April, they only had 7 home games, so a lot of that's on the road.
Swing and a miss. DeGrom has his 3rd strikeout as he fans Peterson to end the inning. Braves get their first hit. Just barely. Great effort by T.J. Rivera. 2-0 Mets after 2. is entertaining Bartolo Colon, a fan favorite for 3 years in a Mets uniform, and now plying his trade in the South.
And the fans just really took a shine to him. There's no doubt about it.
As Dribble Cabrera is hit by the pitch, and that's how the third inning begins. Colon, who almost never hits a batter, drills Cabrera, who finally got a hit against him the last time. In 21 years in the big leagues, Bart had hit only 60 batters, so less than fewer than 3 per year. I don't think that Cabrera is going to go on an expletive-laced tirade against the Braves after getting hit by the pitch. Did you hear Manny Machado last night?
I did.
Oh, wow.
That was I didn't know there was enough bleeps in there.
Well,
jeez.
I think there were at least a couple of dozen. Here's Jay Bruce. And Jay goes after the changeup, 0-1.
Well, it's all the talk of the town today. It gave all the talking heads lots to talk about.
Well, I like Chris Sale's reaction. He's the guy who threw the pitch. He said, "I don't care," and that's what you have to say. Steady diet of changeups from Colon to Bruce. 1-1.
Well, there you go. I mean, didn't miss a start. A couple of relief appearances. Led the team in wins.
All 3 seasons.
Yes.
He led the team in wins, and he led Oakland in wins the year before he got to the Mets. Bruce hits one in the air to right center, and Inciarte comes over to get it. 1 out. And this is interesting. There are only 2 other pitchers in all of baseball who led their team in wins each of the last 4 years.
Right.
Max Scherzer, Chris Sale, and Bartolo Colon. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that. You could denigrate the idea of the win as much as you want. It's still an incredible accomplishment.
Yes. There's some good, decent, rarefied air.
By the way, I've got an update Ronnie just sent about the Boston-Baltimore now feud, I guess you could call it. Here's Walker with 1 out and 1 on. Apparently tonight, Kevin Gausman of the Orioles hit Xander Bogaerts with a 76-mile-an-hour curveball and got ejected from the game. So obviously warnings had been issued before the game, but how do you eject a pitcher for hitting somebody with a curveball?
It's just, that's silly.
To another Walker, who doubled and drove in a run in the first inning. There's Granderson on deck. He pulled the string again.
Yes, he is.
This is a different game plan from Colon tonight.
Well, maybe, this is a team that played 3 years behind him, and they're, if I'm going to face him, I'm going to say, hey, my approach is I'm going to get fastballs. He's changed the whole program.
Yes, he has 40 pitches, and what has he thrown? 10 or 12 changeups or sliders. Very unusual for Bart.
Ooh.
The fastball didn't get the call on. It's 3-1. Second time in this at bat he hasn't gotten the call he thought he should have. So with Cabrera at first and 1 out, a 3-1 count to Walker with the ice cold Granderson on deck. See how Bart approaches this. He's already walked 1 batter today and hit a batter, giving up 2 runs and 4 hits.
Let's send Cabrera here. Put him in motion. Make it happen.
Not going. And Walker lifts it foul.
Well, watch the setup here with Reyes on the right, and of course Walker straight up, feet closer together. Look how wide Reyes's feet is. And watching it, hardly strides, and he's still wider after Walker's has taken his stride. Whatever works. There's no one way.
Horses for horses. Cabrera runs. Walker lifts another one foul. They didn't run him 3-1, but he ran him 3-2.
Got some overcast skies here today, Garrett.
Just a foreshadowing of what is to come, I guess.
Tomorrow.
Today was the warmest day of the 3, got over 80 degrees.
I've got a big decision to make because I'm not flying home with the team. I was planning on flying home on Friday morning and working Friday night's game, but now the weather in New York, I got to make a custard decision here.
I'd say get more horses. Cabrera's running again, and Walker fouls it off again. Do that, or work your flanks. Cologne working hard on Walker. This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat coming up. And the pitch inside for ball 4. And so Walker works out a walk. Second one given up by Cologne, and the Mets have 2 men on. So now it's Granderson, who came up with runners at second and third and nobody out in the first inning and popped up to shortstop.
How odd is, here we are in the 3rd inning of Cologne's start, and he's got 2 walks and a hit batsman.
Very unusual. Well, the Mets had their 2 runs before Cologne got an out. Granderson gave them the first one, and then the Mets ran themselves out of that first inning. Now they've got another crack at him here in the 3rd. And Granderson takes outside. At what point, Keith, do you start to become really concerned about Curtis Granderson?
I'm getting a little concerned right now, but I always have in the back of my mind the bad start he had last year. Now this is a much worse start, and he's a year older. That always creeps into the equation when someone gets past 35 years of age.
Was asked the question, a more general question about his veterans, about what you expect from them, and he said, I expect who they are and what they've done. But again, when you're 36 years old and you're playing center field, which very few other players try to do, it is a little different equation. Slider misses to Granderson, 2-1.
And Curtis is a very unorthodox hitter, and he's had a wonderful career. Great career as far as power, and he's always been a strikeout guy. So you always worry about strikeout guys, and I'm talking from my generation because those are the guys that usually fall off a cliff quicker when they get older. But everybody strikes out today, so I don't give it a lot of credence.
Right. That equation has changed too. That's for sure. 2-1 from Cologne, and jams Granderson. He pulls it foul. We saw a note from Elias yesterday, which was just startling. April set another record for strikeout rate, major league record for highest strikeout rate across Major League Baseball. And in fact, the last 32 months have been the highest strikeout months, 1 through 32, in Major League history. It just keeps going up and up and up. More strikeouts, and over the last couple of years, more home runs. 2-2 coming, and Granderson pulls that one foul. I mean, think about that, going all the way back to the start of the National League in 1876. So that's 141 years times 12 months, or 6 months, right? So of all those months, the 32 months with the most strikeouts are the last 32. Off the plate, and another full count for Cologne, his second in a row. it's been an inexorable rise, and you wonder where the end is. I mean, you can't get to a point where every out is a strikeout, but we're heading in that direction. 3-2 with one out. Runners lead first and second. Not going, and Granderson yanks one down the line, and that's a fair ball going to the corner. Cabrera will come home. Walker is on his way. He'll be held up. And Granderson stops at second with an RBI double, and it's 3-0 New York. A much-needed hit for Curtis Granderson, his first on this road trip.
Down and in, wants it away. Got it on the inner half down. And that's where Curtis likes it. Curtis keeps on chugging and hopes to find it.
So a hit batsman and a walk set the table. Granderson cashes one in with his fourth double of the year. And the Mets with a 3-0 lead and a chance for more with Reyes coming up. And looks like the Braves are going to bring their infield in.
DeGrom on the hill, I think, has a lot to do with this decision by Brian Snitker.
Walker at third, Granderson at second, and one out. The infield in all the way around. And Reyes lines a base hit into center field. That brings in Walker. Granderson will be stopped at third as Inciarte hits the cutoff man. Reyes cashes in a run, and it's 4-0 New York.
You got to believe there'll be some activity in there. The Braves are finally going to get someone up.
So Reyes, who had a 7-game hitting streak stopped last night, starts a new one with a hard-hit single against Cologne.
Fastball in. Leads right out over the plate. And again, another one base at a time in Major League Baseball. The fast outfield, fast grass.
And the arm of Inciarte, which burned the Mets in New York, and I think that makes Glenn Sherlock a little more shy about sending him.
It's been going the whole series. And remember, also, Gary, in regards to Cologne, when he doesn't have it, we've seen him for 3 years, and you Met fans at home have. He usually gets clocked.
But usually the ball leaves the ballpark, and that hasn't happened yet tonight. Josh Colmenter, the long man of the Braves bullpen, is up. It's Chuck Hernandez paid a visit to Cologne. Now Rene Rivera will bat with first and third and one out. 2 runs home in the inning. Rivera grounded out to second base his first time up.
Well, this is a ballpark here where 4 runs is not enough. You've got to add on.
On paying attention to Reyes, who has stolen 3 bases this year. 491 now for his major league career. And 3 in a row. Say does not run, and Rivera takes a strike. Cologne's faced 16 batters tonight, has thrown a first pitch strike to only half of them, which is not very Cologne-like. And Rene takes up and in. 1-1. He's also not throwing very hard.
He's throwing lollipops up there, and we've seen him do this before and get people out.
Well, we've also seen him find himself, you know, in the midst of a game, but he has not been sharp so far tonight. And the Mets trying to cash in. And Rivera fouls it off, and it's 1-2. Dribble Cabrera having a bandage applied to his right leg.
Is that where he got hit?
Might be. Or it might have been on a slide. Can't know for sure. Battered and bruised. Slider off the plate to Rivera. 2-2. Rene making his 10th start of the year. Not going to know probably till tomorrow or the next day just how long Travis d'Arnaud is going to have to sit. He was optimistic. That's lined the other way by Rivera. That's going to fall for a base hit. Granderson's in to score the 3rd run of the inning. Rene Rivera pokes one the other way for an RBI single, and it's 5-0 New York.
Well, another one like Cabrera's opposite field. This was a slider off the plate, went out with one hand. Just kind of placed it out there. Had an RBI in it too. Nicely done, Rene. Well, that is not much left in that bat, is it?
That's why they make it that long. If it was an inch shorter, you'd have one less hit. Here's T.J. Rivera, who hit one to the warning track in center field his first time up. And he takes a fastball for a strike. It'll be interesting to see how much longer Brian Snitker will stay with Cologne. Got the pitcher DeGrom on deck, but even DeGrom hit the ball hard his first time up. It's now with 5 runs and 7 hits off Bart in just 2 1/3 innings. He's got Cole Mentor, who is a legit long man. Guy can give you 4 or 5 innings if you need it. And Rivera pops one up into shallow right. And Markakis is there to grab it, and that's the second out. On top of the wins list, and did they just get a double play?
They just did. I think they snuck it in on Jose.
I was looking down, did not see it. But the Braves able to pull a fast one, and for the second time in this game, a base running mistake. Reyes is tagged out at second. Double play goes 9-6 to end the inning. How about that? Reyes, check this out.
A veteran player just lollygagging here.
He's walking back into second, and Dansby Swanson takes the throw from right field, slaps a tag on him before he gets back. That's just awful.
Well, here it is even more pronounced here. And it's just, look at this. A Sunday walk in the park. There's just no excuse for that. That is embarrassing.
It really is. You can see it on his face. But I mean, how do you let that happen?
You've had 2 plays on the bases. He had Walker not knowing how many outs there was. That was back in the 1st inning. And he ran from second base with 1 out and was doubled up. And now the other one's more egregious because it's just lazy.
Here's Dansby Swanson leading off in the home 3rd. And I think the larger point is, you know, this is a team that's going through a lot of hardship right now. Their best hitter is on the sidelines. Don't know for how long. Their best pitcher is on the sidelines for the long term. They've got other people hurt. They're sitting in last place. They're 4 games under 500 in a year where there were great expectations. You would think that the veteran players would be on point.
Our open in the first game when we were 3 in the booth was about after that devastating loss on Sunday in Washington, how the veterans had to set the example from the moment they walked into the clubhouse. And this is not a bright, not a good day, to say the least. Not a shining example.
And, you know, they've got a 5-0 lead, which is great. And, you know, if you're Walker and Reyes, you certainly hope that Jacob DeGrom holds the lead. And you know, it's never in jeopardy, and that the runs that you've left on the table don't come back to haunt you. Swanson fouls it off, but I think it's larger than that, isn't it? It's a team that needs to do things the right way if they're going to find their way back in without some of their best talent.
I'm just wondering what's going through Terry Collins' mind. You know, he's an old school. You have to sit there and swallow it.
Do you?
I don't know.
Swanson draws a leadoff walk. First walk given up by DeGrom. Well, now Cologne 0 for 9 at the plate. Cologne, the home run hitter, exchanging thoughts with Rene Rivera. It's pretty impressive. 36 of 81 starts. He's allowed either no runs or 1 run. Cologne stabs at the bunt and fouls it back. Ender Inciarte on deck. You have to bunt with Cologne because if he puts it in play, it's almost an automatic double play. The problem is he's not a great bunter. Coming up on the 1-year anniversary of his home run in San Diego.
I was not there to witness,
but I'm sure you've seen it.
I actually saw it live. I was watching.
Oh, okay.
So I was sitting in and I remember exactly where I was. It's one of those moments.
And what was your reaction? Because everybody's heard my reaction. What was your reaction?
I knew when he hit it, it was going out. And then my reaction was to your call and Ronnie's laugh. That's what it was. And then, of course, Bart slow trotting around the bases.
Showing bunt on 1 and 2. And he bunts it foul for strike 3. So it's time now for another edition of Mets on SNY. Cologne looking for his first hit of the year. He drives one deep left field. Back goes Upton. Back near the wall. It's out of here. Bartolo has done it. The impossible has happened. This is one of the great moments in the history of baseball. I know that nobody who watched it will ever forget.
And the pitcher, who was the pitcher?
James Shields.
And he never recovered from that.
He was not happy, and he did not react well to the spirit of the moment as Inciarte bluffs the bunt with Reyes playing back. I mean, he got angry with the questions that were being asked of him after the game about giving up the home run to Bart. he was a little embarrassed.
Hey, I threw it, he hit it.
That's it. Inciarte grounded out to short his first time, and he pops one up. Rivera waiting for it. Straight to the line, makes the catch in foul territory for the second out. So after the leadoff walk, DeGrom has retired the next two. That's a trivia question. Bartolo Colon has 5 career extra base hits. Who was the pitcher who gave up his first? Now, his first experience in the National League was with the Expos after the Indians traded him to Montreal. So that would have been in the early 2000s.
That's impossible. If someone gets that, they're cheating. They're going on that.
Well, I'm just trying to think, since we're running this particular trivia question on a Mets broadcast, that maybe it was a Mets pitcher who gave it up.
Good luck. I am not going to waste any energy on trying to figure that one out.
Okay, you've made your sentiments clear.
Let the fans
direct your brain cells in another direction.
Let the fans have at it.
Donis Garcia fouls back the fastball from DeGrom, and it's 0-2. Stat guy Kevin Barnes suggested that that Colon's first extra base hit was against Cy Young.
Funny.
0-2 coming to Garcia, and he reaches for it and fouls it off. DeGrom's allowed just one hit, a bloop single by Tyler Flowers in the second. Freddie Freeman waiting on deck.
He wants this out. You want Freddie Freeman leading off an inning.
Garcia grounds one down to third, right behind the bag. A fair ball. Reyes pulls Rivera off the bag. Reyes had more time to set himself because Garcia does not get down the line that well. But he got away the quick throw, but it was not accurate.
Yeah, that would have pulled anybody off the bag there.
That'll be a base hit for Garcia. And that'll get Freeman to the plate with 2 men on. So Reyes having a little rough time of it. And now Freeman had grounded out his first time up. Freddie last night hit a monstrous home run against Matt Harvey, his 10th of the year. It came in his 25th game, which was by far the fastest he had ever gotten to 10 home runs. That's hit through the hole, a base hit. Swanson around third. He'll score the Braves' first run. Freddie Freeman taking advantage of the shift and hitting it where no one was playing.
Had no intention, Gary, of hitting a 3-run home run. You got a 4-hitter behind you in Kemp. Just peck away here. And that's drive a freight train through that hole there. Right down the middle. That's a ball he could have pulled. But he was not. He was going up the middle to drive in the run and get a run back and get the team closer.
So Freeman cashes in the leadoff walk. And now 2 aboard for Matt Kemp. With Garcia at second, Freeman at first, and 2 out. 5-1 New York. Kemp struck out his first time up. Came into the night hitting .400 against Met pitching this year. He has worn them out. And he lines that one to center, but Granderson is there, and that retires the side. Braves Pirates cash a run on Freeman's 2-out hit. 5-1 New York after 3.
It's now time to go under the cap with Brady.
Jacob DeGrom leads off the 4th inning against Bartolo Colon. Mets with a 5-1 lead. DeGrom had a base hit to center field his first time up. DeGrom, Conforto, and Cabrera for the Mets in the 4th. And he clocks one to right field, but right at Marquez. Another bullet off the bat of DeGrom. But that's the first out. Let's check in with Steve Gelbs. His report tonight is brought to you by Volkswagen.
Well, Gary, I've been spending the last couple of days walking around this brand new ballpark, checking out some of the cool, new, unique features. And probably my favorite one so far is the Mizuno glove experience. There are 2 kiosks here at SunTrust Park that allow fans to rent gloves for the game to try and catch foul balls or home run balls. They come at no charge. You can rent it by putting a credit card down. They only charge you, of course, if you don't return the glove at the end of the game. But it's something that fans can do throughout the game, and then if they like that glove, they get a 10% off voucher, and they can buy a Mizuno glove at a discounted price afterwards.
I think that's an outstanding idea.
That is one of the best marketing ideas I've heard in a long time.
Conforto bounces it back to Colon. Good extension to it. That's a great one. There's another one, Steve. I don't know if you've checked this out. Out in the outfield, there are some seats for season ticket holders, and the cup holders at those seats, and I don't know if they have this anywhere else, have refrigeration.
Yeah, Gary, it's right underneath the chop house in right field, and I was out there yesterday actually. It's the view of the game itself is fantastic, and you have a little table essentially in front of you. But yeah, they have cup holders that allow your drink of choice to stay cold, which tonight you may not need it, but once these summer months kick in down here in Atlanta, you're probably going to need that pretty badly.
I mean, that's a great idea.
It's a very good idea. Hot Atlanta.
As Dribble Cabrera has been on base twice, doubled in a run and hit by a pitch, scored 2 runs. We've got a lot of neat features here. Ballpark evolution continues to advance. Ground ball right at the second baseman, and Peterson makes quick work of Cabrera. Easy inning for Bartolo Colon, sets the Mets down in just 6 pitches. Still 5-1 Mets in the 4th. bottom of the fourth at SunTrust Park. Braves are playing their 10th home game here, so they're just getting to know the place. Nick Markakis takes a breaking ball for ball one from DeGrom. Jacob gave up a run in the third after issuing leadoff walk. Now facing Markakis, Flowers, and Peterson, 5, 6, and 7 in the Atlanta batting order in the fourth.
Well, this park, as you said, the Braves are getting familiarized on their 10th home game. It's built on Windy Hill, and it is a hill here. And Markakis stated that he's finding out that in BP the wind blows harder, but when the sun goes down it tends to calm. So
it might calm, but it doesn't keep the ball from flying.
No, it doesn't.
Of course, wind patterns and air currents in ballparks depend on so many factors. It's not just the wind, but it's also the architecture around the ballpark.
Do you remember when they were building Citi Field and they had the old stadium up?
Right.
And how when they took it down, it totally affected the wind.
Well, how about in Philadelphia, where they had that wind tunnel out to left center field when they first opened the ballpark, and then they closed in some of the space behind the plate, and then it stopped flying quite the same way. Two to Markakis, and he lines one the other way, a base hit. This Braves team, they are a contact hitting team.
They're plucky. And they don't have any quit in them, that's for sure. A little backdoor slider, not much of one, a little bit of a hanger. Kept it up. Good hitting.
There's the fourth hit given up by DeGrom. Leadoff single for Markakis. And now Tyler Flowers, who had the first Atlanta hit, a little pop fly that fell in to shallow right just beyond the reach of T.J. Rivera. Swings through the fastball, 0-1. Final game of the series tomorrow night. Zach Wheeler back in his hometown, taking on the left-hander Jaime Garcia. Zach's first start in the major leagues was at Turner Field before massive numbers of family and friends. Fastball on the corner, and DeGrom quickly ahead on Flowers, 0-2. Chase Peterson hitting 7th in the order, waiting on deck. Now the 0-2. He skips the slider in there. Nice stop by Rivera. 1-2.
Beautiful backhand.
Two. And the breaking ball fouled off. When DeGrom gave up a run in the last inning, it snapped a string of 16 consecutive scoreless innings for DeGrom against the Braves, including 6 scoreless in his first start of the year this season and the first 2 innings tonight. He had 8 prior scoreless innings against the Braves last season.
Got that slider up. He's got to be careful. You can see his expression on his face. He's not happy with that one. He's been a little erratic with his slider tonight.
Well, tonight is still today. So you can say today when it's tonight, but you can't say tonight when it's today. Right?
I'm not going to waste any energy on that one.
You're really laid back today. Here's the 1-2. That's drilled to left field. A base hit for Flowers. And so the Braves with back-to-back hits to start this 4th inning. Things start to get a little dicier for Jacob DeGrom.
Another, I believe, another hanger. Ripped.
hits against DeGrom in 3 innings plus. And now Jace Peterson, who struck out his first time up. Markakis at second, Flowers at first with nobody out. It's at a 5-0 lead. It's 5-1, and the Braves threatening to get closer. And a check swing foul, 0-1. And you know, if the Braves are able to get closer, it makes those 2 base running mistakes that the Mets made loom that much larger.
If the Mets let this one get away, yes, it'll be glaring. 5 for 11 with runners in scoring position so far this year for Jace Peterson.
He's played a lot. He's started almost half the games at 4 different spots. And he bluffs a bunt. And Reyes playing very deep, which he tends to do, and we've seen a lot of hitters with Reyes playing well back on the dirt. Show bunt. This has been an ongoing thing. And Reyes comes in a little bit closer. Ground ball should be 2. Walker hesitates on the flip, but Cabrera still able to turn it over. That ball stuck in Walker's hand for a moment, but no matter. The Mets still turn the 4-6-3 double play. 2 out and a runner at third.
Pitcher's best friend. Oh boy, you're right, Gary. Looks like his hands crisscrossed over the glove. And clearly out.
Big boon for DeGrom to get the double play. Now 2 out. Markakis at third and Dansby Swanson the batter. Swanson walked and scored the only Atlanta run in the third. He takes the fastball low and away for ball 1. Emilio Bonifacio has come out on deck, so if Swanson keeps the inning going, they'll bat for Colon. Mart had an easy 4th inning, his only easy inning of the night. Slider taken down, and it's 2-0 to Swanson.
And interesting pitching Swanson very carefully. I know Colon's in the on-deck circle, but Bonifacio's in the on-deck circle. I'm aware he's 1 for 11 as a pinch hitter, but Swanson's hitting 158. I would want to go after him.
And now it's 3-0. Well, he walked him the last time. College shortstop facing another. And he walks him on 4 pitches, and DeGrom very unhappy with himself. He walks Swanson for the 2nd time. This Sunday, May 7th, is McDonald's Family Sunday. The Mets take on the Marlins at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a pair of Neil Walker batting gloves presented by WOR 710 AM. Plus, after the game, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays.
Well, that'll get Bonifacio to the plate. It was 1 for 11 as a pinch hitter, as I mentioned.
And it also gets Bartolo Colon out of the game. So the Braves will be going to their bullpen in the 5th inning.
And that'll be the only, the one and only left-hand hitter off the bench for Brian Snitker. What is he doing?
He's warming up, Keith.
Oh my goodness. I tell you what, I never thought of that. I should have tried that.
Do you think he would have had those hops? I mean, before the knee problem. Markakis at third, Swanson at first. 2 down. Bonifacio thinks about a bunt. Again, Reyes playing very deep. And Bonifacio skipping out of the way.
I think it's starting to get around the league. Now we're in division, so all these teams are very familiar. And particularly these two. This is the 3rd series of the season, and here we are the 1st week of May that Reyes plays a very deep third base.
So that's 2 of the last 3 batters have shown bunt, and then Reyes has moved in. So is that somebody asleep at the switch, forgetting to tell him to move in against a guy like Bonifacio who can bunt?
I think someone's asleep. Wasn't Tuffle the infield coach? I mean, the coaches are involved in here too.
1-1 to Bonifacio, who had a base hit as a pinch hitter last night. And his top foul 1-2. Just right now, this team has got a little lack of attention to detail that is a bit troubling.
It's I agreed, and this is really, you win the night. You got a 4-game series. You want to, you split the first 2. You win the night. You got a chance for 3 out of 4. So you would think you'd be on point.
Reyes can back up now with 2 strikes on Bonifacio. 1-2 coming, and he misses badly outside with the slider. 2-2. Ender Inciarte would be next. Jake with a chance to limit the damage to a couple of hits and a walk, but 2 aboard with the Mets up by 4 in the 4th. And that's pulled down the line, and Bonifacio's got himself an extra base hit. Markakis is in. Swanson being waved around third. The relay throw to the plate by Walker is not in time. It's a 2-run pinch hit triple for Emilio Bonifacio, and the Braves slice the Mets lead to 5-3.
Those 2-out RBIs, the toughest ones to get, and they are backbreakers. Slider down and in. Most lefties like it. They're not a bad pitch. Not a whole lot of break, but a good location. So you got to tip your hat to Bonifacio. That's nice hitting and clutch hitting.
So now the Braves will get the tying run to the plate in a game they trailed 5-0 not long ago. Ender Inciarte is 0 for 2 tonight. DeGrom out of the full windup. Runner at third, and he misses badly with the fastball. And DeGrom, who started this night looking sharp, looking very much out of sorts right now.
It doesn't take long for something to get away from you,
especially in this park. Changeup misses. 2-0.
Well, that's Swanson, the back runner, and he can fly. Not very excitable Washington, the third base coach. Just a very lackadaisical wave home.
And now it's 3-0 to Inciarte. DeGrom trying to put this inning to bed, and it's not coming easily. There's a strike. He walked the number 8 hitter Swanson on 4 pitches. Gave up the 2-run triple to Bonifacio, now behind the count on Inciarte. Got the benefit of the double play in this inning, otherwise things could be a whole lot worse. And now he walks Inciarte. Wow. Now the tying runs are on base, and Adonis Garcia coming up. Well, Dan Worthen has already paid a visit to the mound. That's the 3rd walk given up by DeGrom, all in the last 2 innings.
5 base runners this inning, 3 hits and hard hits and 2 walks.
So now it's Garcia, who hit one right to the bag at third base that Reyes threw wide, and Garcia got credit for an infield hit in the 3rd. 1 for 2 on the night. Well, it was 5-0 Mets. It's 5-3, and the Braves have the tying runs on base. Bonifacio at third, Inciarte at first. Good speed at both spots. And Garcia flies one to shallow right. Should be easy for Bruce. And that retires the side. But the Braves get closer with 2 runs on the Bonifacio triple. 5-3 Mets as we go to the 5th. Back in the first inning, we didn't think much of it at the time. DeGrom threw his last pitch of the inning. And watch this as he comes off the mound, kind of looking at his hand, rubbing his fingers together, grimacing a little bit. Now he's continued on. Now he's in the dugout, still messing with it a little bit. So something to keep your eye on. A rough fourth inning. Took him 30 pitches to get through that inning. Gave up some shots and 2 runs to get the Braves within 2. Josh Coleman on the pitch for Atlanta as Jay Bruce leads off in the 5th.
Former Diamondback came up with the Diamondbacks. Never really had a role for him. He came up as a starter, put him in the bullpen.
You could say he was born to be a Brave. He grew up in Michigan throwing tomahawks, and now here he is in the land of the tomahawk chop. And he does come right over the top. A delivery that I don't think you've seen from any other pitcher.
Peculiar.
That's a good word for it. Doesn't throw particularly hard, but he's got great deception with that over-the-top delivery. Bruce Walker and Granderson against him in the 5th. And Jay takes the fastball low, 2-2.
That is over the top.
And Bruce pulls one down to Freeman. He handles the hop, and that's the first down of the 5th. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Neil Walker. Walker doubled in a run in the 1st, walked and scored in the 3rd.
Star Wars working there. Yep. Luke Skywalker.
Are there words to that song?
I don't know.
Around Bill Murray. Fastball misses outside for ball 1. You know, Star Wars, nothing but Star Wars.
Gary, I think you should stick to play-by-play.
I think so too. Gonna do that right now. Walker swings and misses at a changeup, and it's 1-1. Walker's got good numbers against Coleman, 5 for 12 with a home run. And he nubs one toward 3rd. Garcia with the bare hand play. And the throw pulls Freeman off the bag, and Walker has an infield hit. Second hit of the night for Walker. Second fortunate hit in 2 nights.
And this is the second play that Garcia has made on a ball down the line. A real strong throw.
Didn't look like he was going to have a chance. The ball came off the bat, but he actually made it a pretty close play. So the Mets have a 1-out base runner. Their 8th hit. Bartolo Colon went 4, allowed 5 runs, 7 hits, 2 walks, no strikeouts. He's on the hook in this game. And now Granderson got himself off the schneid with an RBI double his last time up. His first hit on this road trip. And he takes a fastball strike from Coleman. And like Walker, Granderson has good numbers against Coleman. 3 for 7 with 2 home runs.
Got a good change. Takes a lot off. 74 miles per hour. I can. Oh. All right.
It's a big inning for the sound effects, Keith. We got the truck. We got the horses.
I hate to be interrupted.
Top down the line of Falcon. We should probably go into another line of work if that's true. We interrupt you all the time.
It's necessary. But he takes. I don't need to look at the radar gun. I can just see. We have the same picture you guys have at home in your living room, and it takes a whole bunch off. More than the average bear. He's not a real hard thrower.
Granderson fouls back the fastball.
He slows down his arm on his changeup, which you got to be careful here. We're going to show you right now. It's not, you know what? It's happening in real time there. I'm glad they showed it in real time because I didn't see anything any different. And remember, as a hitter, you got to be focused on the ball coming out of the hand.
Flowers knocks down that changeup in the dirt, and it's 1-2.
And speaking of changeups, I'm fairly sure that when Markakis' double off of Smoker last night, I believe it was a changeup. I could be wrong. If it was a changeup, it was a good location, and Markakis wasn't fooled in the least. And it would make me. I remember I went home thinking about it. Back to the hotel, not home. A long walk. It's like, is he tipping? You know, now the lid's gotten around and he's throwing a changeup.
Interesting.
And the thought crossed my mind.
Well, he certainly has gotten burned on that changeup a few times in the last week to 10 days, which had been so effective for him earlier in the year. 2-2 to Granderson, and Curtis smokes one to center field. Back goes Inciarte to the warning track, reaches up, can't make the catch. Walker going to third. It bounces away from Inciarte, but Sherlock's going to hold Walker at third anyway. Another double for Granderson, his second of the night. Inciarte, who has robbed the Mets so often, that time unable to make the grab as he got to the wall, and he's a little shaken up.
Well, he almost made this catch. Just didn't quite get there.
Trying to hit his head against the fence.
Maybe his shoulder too. Shoulder hits pretty. Oh boy, he kind of whacked into it. Yep, you're right, Gary. Now the back runner here. Play like this, you want to be on the other side of second base. Another double, you don't score.
I have to say though, I think Glenn Sherlock was a little gun shy there. Walker could have scored easily because Inciarte, when he picked that ball up, was still very deep. Reyes hooks one down the line, a foul ball.
Now the Granderson on the backside. Watch this. There's the old veteran for you. Knows what he's doing. He knows he's got a runner in front of him. He's not sure. Okay, it's dropping. He's going to check the runner in front of him so he doesn't overrun him. Very wise. Nicely done, Curtis. Alert.
Braves at the infield in. Mets with a 5-3 lead in the fifth. And looking for more. Reyes drove in a run with a base hit his last time up. Well, it's an encouraging night for Curtis Granderson, that's for sure. And Reyes flies one out to right center. That'll get a run in at least. Inciarte back in the gap to get it. Walker tags and scores. Granderson goes to third. Reyes drives in his second run of the night with the sac fly to make it 6-3 New York.
Boy, he did not hit that ball. Well, I thought it got in on him a little bit, and it went out to the track just about. Nicely done, Jose. Big run to get in to pick back up.
So now Granderson at third with two out with a run home. And here's Rene Rivera, who drove in a run with an opposite field single his last time up. 1 for 2 on the night. Call strike to Rene. Grounds one toward the hole, and Swanson can't make the play, and that'll bring in a run. Perfectly placed by Rene Rivera. Got it past Garcia, and Swanson unable to make connection to the hole. The infield hit for Rivera brings in his second RBI of the night. It's 7-3 New York.
Well, I don't think even if Swanson makes the play, even though Rivera doesn't run well, I don't think he throws him out.
It would have taken an awfully good play.
It would have taken a cannon of an arm.
Which he's got, but might have had a shot at Rivera because he is not blessed with good speed. In any event, Mets have 2 runs home in the inning. Get the 2 back. The Braves scored in the bottom of the 4th. And now T.J. Rivera takes outside. TJ had a fly to the warning track in center field in the second, then had a routine fly ball to right in the third, and Reyes doubled up, moving slowly back to the bag, and took the Mets out of an inning. That's hit sharply over the bag and down the line. That's a fair ball. Rivera racing for third as it hits that jutting stand. He'll stop at third base, and TJ Rivera pulls in with a double.
That's the sixth double the Mets have hit tonight. Right down the line. If we didn't have that angle there, it would have been an RBI.
So Jacob DeGrom will be coming up with two in scoring position. Jacobs hit two balls very hard tonight. Had a base hit to center field in the second, and then a line drive out to right field in the fourth. So a chance to cash a couple more here with a two-out hit. Let's already have 2 runs home against Colementor here in the fifth. Well, you were right when you said early in this game that 4 runs isn't enough. This ballpark is going to put up some hellacious offensive numbers this year. We haven't even seen a home run tonight.
I'm going to be very interested to see what Kemp and Freeman's numbers are at the end of the year. I mean, if Inciarte already has 5 home runs.
And he only had 3 all last year. Mets, by the way, tonight are 7 for 10 with runners in scoring position. You don't see that very often. Rivera at third, Rivera at second.
And that's pulled to the hole, a base hit for DeGrom. Rene is in, TJ right behind him. Markakis' throw, and Flowers unable to come up with the ball. 2-run score on the play, and the Mets lead it 9-3.
What happened to Flowers there? But TJ Rivera able to go behind him and score without a tag. DeGrom drives in a pair, his first 2 RBIs of the season.
Well, here comes the throw from Markakis. He just dropped it on a fly.
Yep.
Tried to make the tag too quick. And look who's on second base.
Yep, good base running by DeGrom to take the extra base on the throw to the plate.
Absolutely. DeGrom's hit the ball hard 3 times tonight. 2 for 3.
Well, the Mets responding with a 4 spot here in the 5th inning. Let's watch DeGrom.
Hey, you want to draw the throw here. There's 2 outs.
He's a good athlete, you know that. He's a former position player in college. Knew exactly what his responsibility was. So 4 runs home in the inning. DeGrom with a 2-out, 2-run hit. And now Michael Conforto, the 8th man up in the inning. Conforto's 1 for 3, led off the game with a double. And Colementor throws a fastball for a strike. Nobody up in the Braves bullpen. It's up to Colementor to put the brakes on this mess. It's now with a 9-3 lead. It's funny, a couple of weeks ago we were talking about the difficulties the Mets were having on offense. Now the Mets have had 7 straight games where they've scored 5 or more runs. And the emphasis is on what's wrong with the pitching. Right now the offense looking much healthier, even without Cespedes. Stopped by Flowers, 1-2. And this guy has a lot to do with it. Conforto blossoming as the leadoff hitter over these last couple of weeks. Now with a 2-out RBI chance, but down in the count 1-2. And he strikes out on the changeup to end the inning. But the Mets put up 4 runs against Josh Colementor in the top of the 5th. When we come back, one of the best first basemen in history, we'll talk about today's first baseman. Freeman hoping to have his plaque on the wall one of these days, and off to a pretty fast start in his career at age 27. And he takes it high for ball one. And watching Ryan Zimmerman tear up the Mets the last series and watching Freeman in this series got us to thinking about who are the elite first basemen in the National League now.
There is a good crop. That is for sure.
Where do you start when you think about National League first basemen? Because there are, 6 or 8 of them who are really, really good. When you watch, who jumps out at you first?
Oh boy, I tell you, Votto has to jump out. He's 33. He's been the MVP, Gold Glove. Goldschmidt, to me, is younger and is going into his prime, and he's another Gold Glover. All these premier players here, most of them have had a Gold Glove. Rizzo, surprisingly, has had one. Rizzo reminds me of a left-handed Jimmy Fox. He's a true power hitter. And all these guys are very good clutch hitters. And Matt Carpenter's in that group, but to me, I don't consider Matt Carpenter a first baseman. I consider him a second baseman or a third baseman.
Right, he's new to the position.
Exactly. Zimmerman, I don't really. He's a third baseman. I haven't seen. You got to like the fact that all these guys are good clutch hitters. First base is a power position. It's a position in the lineup that you're not going to have an 8th hitter play first base. It's a guy that has to drive in runs. I looked and seen how they hit late and close, are a risk with 2 outs. They all hit in the clutch.
Pulled down to first, and the Mets first baseman T.J. Rivera, who is a number 8 hitter, by the way, makes the play on Freddie Freeman for the first out. That is played by T.J., who's handled his first week at the position very well.
Well, he's an infielder, so he's used to fielding ground balls. He got it done. That's all that matters. I mean, the real true, to me, the biggest power hitter there is going to be Rizzo, is more the classic power hitter. Paul Goldschmidt, you got to love him. He steals bases.
Yeah.
He stole 20 bases.
And he wins Gold Gloves, and he hits for a high average, although didn't have his best year last year.
But as far as I was looking today, I was mining the net. Votto's OPS is off the charts.
Yes,
off the charts.
Well, his second half last year was one for the ages. On base percentage plus slugging percentage equals OPS, and Votto, since the start of 2015, a significant piece ahead of the rest of the field.
And you're looking at Adrian Gonzalez down there in the bottom of the pack, and Adrian's on the backside of his career.
That falls in front of Bruce, a base hit for Kemp, his first hit of the night.
Adrian Gonzalez had some phenomenal years, and he's getting on. He's going to be 35, pretty doggone close. A couple days.
And also won 3 Gold Gloves.
Right, and he's heading, on the backside,
right,
and more than anybody else on this list. But don't diminish him. He's had a fantastic career. Hit 40 home runs one year. Brandon Belt, he's another guy. He's good around the bag.
Yep. I mean, we didn't put him on that initial list, but he certainly needs to be in that conversation. Will Myers is on the list. He just moved to first base, but he's the youngest of the group and had a terrific year with the Padres and off to a really fast start this year. He's an interesting guy because he's, they've moved him around, corner, outfield, center field, and now finding a home at first base.
And Votto is going to be 34 in September. But he's in such great shape. He's showing no signs of slowing down.
All right. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Who would I take?
If you had to have one guy, and consider age in this, if you're going to take a guy to start a team right now, who would you choose from that group?
Rizzo.
I totally agree. That's exactly what I was going to say. Well, they're the home runs since the start of 2015, and Rizzo's on the top of that pack.
And he's 3-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, a Gold Glover, which I was not aware of.
Last year he won the Gold.
Yes, and he's hit 31 and 32 home runs back to back. 100 RBI seasons. He is something to behold.
And you know what he also brings to the table. He's a tremendous leader on a really good team, and that's got to count for something as well. He's the guy. Even though he's a bit more of a home run hitter than you were, he's the guy who reminds me most of you.
He's a lot more of a home run hitter than me.
No, I know, but I'm just saying in
please.
terms of his demeanor, what he means to that team, his defense. Popped up into shallow left. Conforto coming on to call off Reyes, and that's the second out. So Marquez retired, 2 out. And that's how they handed out the Gold Gloves the last decade. Schmidt with 2. Gonzalez with 3.
In Pujols, of course, played first base for an awful long time, Gary.
Well, you know, let's talk a little bit about the American League, because you know you've got a guy in Detroit who probably is the best hitter of the last 20 years in Miguel Cabrera.
Correct.
And you know he's in a class by himself.
I like the guy in Kansas City too.
Hosmer.
I do.
Well,
he's young. He's 26.
And he's the standard defensive. There aren't as many good first basemen in the American League. But you know Cabrera, as far as offense is concerned, there's nobody like him.
Look at that Triple Crown. I mean, please, that is unbelievable. The All-Star games, okay, fine, but the 2-time MVP too. It's rarefied air. There's only so much, but maybe a little over 24 people that won an MVP twice.
And first Triple Crown since the 60s. So you know, he's accomplished so much. And you know, it's difficult to judge the first baseman in the American League too, because some of them DH so much. In fact, like Pujols, you know, you look at his career numbers, they're Hall of Fame numbers, but he's a DH now far more than he's a first baseman.
But to me, I'd have to put him in the category of first base, Gary, because he did play it predominantly throughout his career. Even though he's a DH now, he was a first baseman. And boy, he was the premier player for quite a long time.
594 home runs, 1,840 runs batted in for Pujols, still going at age 37. And that's outside, ball 4. So Flowers draws a 4-pitch walk, and he's on base for the 3rd straight time. And that's troubling for DeGrom. He's going to build his pitch count even further. He's at 97 with 2 out in the 5th. So that means it's going to be hard to get him much more than 5 innings tonight. Well, as far as career goals, we had to sneak this in.
Well, George Scott was the first baseman of my era growing up before me. Vic Power was a little before me, but I was a kid. Bill White was one of the guys I emulated at first base defensively, and I had the great pleasure of telling Bill White that. You know what a wonderful man he is. And Bill played for the Cardinals. We'd go watch the Cardinal games. My dad would get first base side, and he'd have us watch Bill White. He'd say, "Now, sons," because Gary was a.
It's drilled to the gap in right center by Peterson, and that's going to go all the way back to the wall. Kemp will score. Flowers trying to score as well, and Walker's throw far too late. It's a 2-run double for Jace Peterson. The Braves are fighting back again. It's now 9-5 New York.
Wow.
And the runs just keep on flowing here at SunTrust Park.
Well, the Braves aren't doing it with home runs. This game is without home runs. This is, well, you got 2 outs. You're flying off the bat. And there's a guy with a bad leg right there too. He's probably saying, "Please, I don't want to pull a hammy here."
That's going to get their bullpen cranking for the first time, with DeGrom about to throw his 99th pitch. Dansby Swanson the batter, and he takes a strike at the knees.
Ball kind of got stuck underneath. Curtis hits the cutoff man perfectly. Just too late, that's all.
So the 2-out walk hurting DeGrom as he walked Flowers, and Peterson cashed it in. And he's got Swanson, who's already walked twice.
He's got 4 walks in this game. That is not like Jacob.
Hansel Robles, the right-hander. Josh Edge, the left-hander, up in the Mets bullpen. Well, 2 starts back, he walked 5.
Yes. When you give him a 9 spot, you think you just put this one in the bank. Oh, back to Bill real quick. Bill White. My dad would have us watch his footwork around the bat. My dad thought he was a terrific fielder. So I was interrupted again.
And did you learn from watching that?
Yeah, because we were instructed about. That was one of the first drills that my father had my brother and I do. Was he said he wanted us to. He told us when we were kids, this bag has to become a part of your body, because you're going to be able to move. We have drills going back and forth that you won't have to look at the bag. You'd be 3 feet from the bag and you'll know where it is without looking. You can pick up the ball, and that's just drill, 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 and drill work. You know, practice makes perfect.
Sense of where you are, as Bill Bradley used to say.
That's a Princeton guy, yes.
You like that?
Yes.
You like that Ivy League connection. 3-2 to Swanson. Well, we showed that list. I didn't see Wes Parker's name on there anyway.
Yes.
And he was named the all-time Gold Glover. That was a.
He won late there.
Stolen.
It was a late West Coast vote.
It was a steal. 3-2 to Swanson. And he fouls it back.
Wes was a heck of a fielder also.
Six pitches in this inning for DeGrom after he threw 30 in the last inning. So he's on his last gasps now, just trying to put this inning to bed.
It's a bit of a stunner, isn't it?
Again, the 3-2 coming to Swanson. And he walked him for a third straight time, and DeGrom screaming at himself.
I'm wondering in the back of his head, you know, as Dan Warthen goes out there, I need one out here and I get a double, a W. He just goosed that one in there. I've never seen him do that.
So Warthen at the mound, trying to nurse DeGrom through this 5th inning with a 4-run lead. Lane Adams is going to be the pinch hitter. Adams, who drove in a run with a pinch hit single last night, will get a chance to do damage here with 2 on and 2 out. 2 runs already home here in the bottom of the 5th. Well, the Mets won 7-5 on Monday, lost 9-7 last night, and they're up 9-5 tonight. And a lot of games in this ballpark this year and for years to come. They're going to have to get used to this.
DeGrom needs an out.
.105 pitches deep. He threw 112 in his last start in 7 innings. And here he is over 100 in the 5th. So the first pitch misses to Adams, ball 1.
Adams got a pinch hit RBI single last night.
Peterson at second, Swanson at first, and Adams swings through the fastball, and it's 1-1. Well, the Mets got a lot of work from their bullpen each of the last 2 nights. The game they won on Monday night, Robert Gesellman went just 5 innings, and they're going to need similar length from the bullpen tonight. That's on the corner, and DeGrom gets ahead on Adams, 1-2. There's a few fastballs he's been able to spot on that corner tonight. One-two on the way. And it's on the outside corner. Strike 3 call. Just the 4th strikeout of the night for DeGrom after 3 straight double-digit efforts, but he gets through 5 with the lead. 9-5 New York. Marlins need a little offense. They've been struggling. Meanwhile, Jacob DeGrom struggles his way through 5 innings. Mets have a 9-5 lead as Dribble Cabrera leads off the 6th against Ian Kroll, the new Atlanta pitcher.
Kroll gave up the home run and the first hit Reyes had against a left-hander in the season. Hit the solo home run off of him in an inning of 2/3 work.
Cabrera 1 for 2, also hit by a pitch tonight, a double. He scored 2 runs, driven in 1. Mets scored 2 in the first, 3 in the third against Bartolo Colon to build a 5-0 lead. Braves got back to 5-3. Mets put up a 4 spot in the 5th, and the Braves carved 2 more, and Cabrera hits one down the line deep for a foul. Let's go back to the last pitch that DeGrom threw. That fastball on our G pitch cast.
Paint your wagon.
Maybe a little extra from Larry Vanover.
He needed it.
Yes, he did. The last 2 innings were quite the struggle. 61 pitches the last 2 innings for DeGrom. And he gave up 2 runs in each of those innings. Mets were able to put up 4 against Josh Colmenter in the 5th, and right now that's the difference in the game. And that's pulled foul. 3-2 to Cabrera with Bruce and Walker to follow. Mets 9 runs, 12 hits. The Braves 5 runs and 8 hits. Well, if nothing else, the fans here in Atlanta will be very entertained if they like offensive baseball. Rolled slowly, cut off by Garcia, but he bobbles it, and Cabrera's safe. Well, just when we started singing the praises of Adonis Garcia's defensive play, he botches a routine one.
And it's a big clank right there off the heel of his glove. Routine ground balls are the ones that you get lazy with, or casual.
4th error of the year for Adonis Garcia. So the Mets have a leadoff base runner. That's the first error for either side tonight. Bruce is 0 for 2 and a walk after his 2 home runs, 6 RBI night last night. Facing the left-hander now, and takes a fastball strike from Kroll.
Only 4 for 29 on the year so far for Bruce against the lefties. It's a 138 average with 1 home run.
He's 1 for 6 in his career against Kroll. And the breaking ball has him flailing, and it's 0-2. Ian Kroll, who began his career with the Nationals, just 25 years old. 2nd year with the Braves. And Bruce flares one out to left, but Kemp comes on. And that's the first out. So 1 out and 1 on. Neil Walker coming up, and we check in with Steve.
Well, guys, you were talking about the best first baseman in the National League in the last inning, and we talked a little bit about Paul Goldschmidt, but not a ton. We don't get to see him all that often, being that he plays on the West Coast. But Glenn Sherlock certainly saw a lot of him being on the Arizona coaching staff for all those years, and he thinks that Paul Goldschmidt is the best first baseman in the game right now. Yeah, you hear about the offensive numbers and the gold gloves, but he said the way he runs the bases, Keith, you referenced this, he stole 32 bases last year, has 8 this season, and he's not a very fast guy. Sherlock said he just pays such close attention to detail when it comes to the pitchers and their moves. Sherlock also added when he's a third base coach, he loved having a guy like Goldschmidt at second because he always knew he'd get the right read on the ball. He was working on his base running. He'd make the correct turns around third base and would always score when he was supposed to.
Walker hits one out to center field, and Inciarte measures it, and that's the 2nd out. Goldschmidt is a wonderful player, and it just speaks to the depth at the position in the National League.
There are a lot of good ones, and Goldschmidt goes the other way with power. That's what I like about him. And it's another curiosity. I know he strikes out over 100 times, and a hitter like him, a 300 hitter, I just don't understand the strikeouts.
It's been a breakout night for Curtis Granderson. A pair of doubles. One to the right field corner, one off the center field fence. He's driven in a run. He scored 2. A badly needed night for Curtis, who was in a 1-for-33 hole before these 2 doubles. Now facing the left-hander Kroll, and takes the fastball on the corner, 1-1. There goes Cabrera, and a check swing foul.
Oh, he had that bag stolen easy.
Well, Cabrera's been doing a little bit more of that on this road trip. Every time that Cabrera hits the dirt or has to run hard, you think it might be the last time he runs all year. And then he gets back up and he does it again.
He's a little bit like Mickey Rivers going back to first base.
Yes. I always used to think that that Mickey had a broken leg and he could steal 3 more bases. 2-2 to Granderson. Jose Reyes would be next. Cabrera on board with a leadoff error. But Kroll's retired the next 2 and a snap throw. He used that snap throw effectively to pick Cabrera off on Monday night. And his dribble trying not to get caught again. Two coming. Granderson takes inside corner, strike 3 call.
Oh,
wow. Side retired.
Blame you, Curtis.
We go to the bottom of the 6th. 9-5 New York. United Bank brings you their lines. Bartolo Colon lasted 4 innings, gave up 5 runs. Jacob DeGrom lasted 5 innings, gave up 5 runs. I shorted him a strikeout before he fanned 5. Still not a great night for DeGrom, although he has a chance for a win, and Josh Edgin will work for the 3rd straight night. Top of the batting order, Ender Inciarte, who had a base hit against Edgin last night, takes the fastball high. Inciarte tonight 0 for 2 and a walk. 5 for 11 in this series. He greeted Edgin with a first pitch base hit last night. Juan Lagares threw out Dansby Swanson at the plate. And slider by Edgin gets him even 1-1.
3 for 16 on the year against left-handers. A little bit rigid at the plate with his swing against the left-handers. I think in a late in the ball game, I'd have to bring in a left-hander to face Inciarte if it's late and close.
And Edgin gets ahead with the slider 1-2. Edgin faced just 1 batter on Monday night, faced 2 batters last night, and now in for a 3rd straight day. Lowered his arm angle a little bit, making it a little more difficult for the lefties to contend with. And Inciarte grounds 1 for Walker, and that's the first out of the inning. So 1 down to the bottom of the 6th. Hansel Robles on call in the Mets bullpen. Edgin's going to stay in to face the right-hand hitting Adonis Garcia with Freddie Freeman on deck.
Well, now you got to manage your bullpen. You don't want to bury your bullpen. You've got a 4-run lead. Let Edgin hopefully have a clean inning here.
Jason Mott up in the Atlanta bullpen. Mets used 5 relievers Monday night and 4 last night. And Edgin runs the breaking ball in on Garcia for ball 1.
So you can do Edgin 1 in the 7th inning, bring in Robles, and then go to Reed, and then if you have to, depending on what the score is, who knows what the score is going to be by the 8th inning.
That bullpen has gotten a workout this year. You know, early in the season, it was at least in part because the Mets were trying to protect their starters and their pitch counts. Now all bets are off on the starters. And their rotation depleted and their bullpen overworked. The Mets started the night with the 2nd worst earned run average in the National League. I don't think anybody had that in the pool on the 3rd of May.
But I will say you got to factor in that 23-run game.
Sure.
But still, as far as the starting rotation is concerned, after 1 month, you wouldn't have thought that with the 5 starters, Harvey would lead with only 2 wins. Everybody else has 1.
Garcia went around in the half swing. Alfonso Marquez with the call down at first, and it's 2-2.
Comes the cavalry.
Mets bullpen has been left-hand heavy all year. They're down from 4 though to 3 now. Sean Gilmartin was sent back to the minors today. So Blevins, Smoker, Edgin, the 3 lefties in the bullpen. Mets also made it official that Rafael Montero is going to start Friday's game. He'll be called up to take Noah Syndergaard's spot in the rotation. And that was, I guess, inevitable because there really wasn't any other choice.
Right.
And Montero has, you know, he was very impressive this spring, but struggled in his relief outings early in the season after being included on the opening day roster. But he'll get a crack at starting on Friday night. 2-2, up and away, and a full count to Garcia. Amazing. The Mets had such elegant pitching depth starting the season, and it's all gone.
Yes, it is.
8th pitch of the at bat coming, and Garcia hits one out to right field. And Bruce goes over to get it. 2 out. Seth Lugo and Steven Matz are working their way back. Maybe by the end of May, maybe slightly beyond that. Noah Syndergaard looks like his absence will be measured in months.
Yes, it will. How about second half?
Well, here's Freddie Freeman with 2 out and nobody on. Just the way the Mets want to face him. Freddie's 1 for 3 tonight on a base hit to drive and a run in the 3rd. Was retired on a nice play by T.J. Rivera to start the 5th. And now facing Edgin. Freeman's 5 for 10 in his career against Josh Edgin. And he takes the fastball high for ball 1. When Josh first came up, he was throwing 95, 96 miles an hour, but post Tommy John surgery, that just has not been there. 1-1 to Freeman. Robles ready in the bullpen, so you have to figure he'll be in if Freeman gets on and Kemp comes up. And Freeman fouls off the slider, and it's 1-2. One-two off the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And Freeman waves at it for strike 3. So Josh Edgin fans Freddie Freeman, and he's got himself a 1-2-3 bottom of the 6th. Nice job by Edgin. Freeman flailing at the slider. Still 9-5 Mets going to the 7th.
Some things just didn't go our way. You know, we know we're going to get hot. We've seen it happen last year. We had rough patches last year as well, and we made the playoffs. So we got a group of guys who've been through it before, and even, you know, I can say that I've been through it before. You know, there's no panic. We know we're going to be okay.
Michael Conforto, it's part of Mets Insider, presented by W.B. Mason, Sunday at 4:30, only on SNY. Jose Reyes grounded out on the first pitch thrown by Jason Mott as he comes on to pitch here in the top of the 7th. Mott's 3rd appearance since the Braves called him up. Pitched in Colorado last year, the former Cardinal closer.
converted catcher, wasn't he?
Yep. Rene Rivera has driven in 2 runs tonight with a pair of singles. Rivera getting the start behind the plate with Travis d'Arnaud's hand injury having cropped up last night. Bruised hand, wrist. Coming in for a strike, 1-1. What's concerning about the recurrence of d'Arnaud's injury is that when he first hurt it, he could still swing the bat. He just couldn't throw. But last night, it was while he was swinging the bat that he felt the recurrence of that bruise, and was not able to swing the bat today either. That's we're hoping to have him available late innings in an emergency, but gonna have to see tomorrow just how badly that wrist is swollen, and if it is, the Mets are going to have to think about putting Travis on the 10-day DL. Good cutter by Mott to get ahead on Rivera, 1-2. Because the Mets are carrying 3 catchers right now, which makes that a little simpler with Kevin Plawecki and Rene Rivera. It's sharply, but right at Peterson. Rene is retired, 2 down. Quote of the game brought to you by Investors Bank, banking in your best interest. It comes from the great Braves lefty Warren Spahn. He says basically if you forget about a sore arm and do what you have to do, it'll go away.
There's a lot of guys that had sore arms that have had their careers ruined. That were back in Warren's day. But Warren pitched a very long time. What a wonderful man he was. One of the greatest left-hander, I guess, of all time, huh? Most wins.
Well, certainly the winningest lefty of all time. I think
got Lefty Grove.
Sandy Koufax.
But yes.
I mean, Sandy didn't last as long as those other guys, but in terms of a 6-year period of brilliance, it's hard to argue with that.
Right.
Steve Carlton.
Randy Johnson.
You know,
has to be in that category.
You gonna throw Tom Glavine in that group?
Sure.
300-game winner.
Yeah, that's right. He won 300. Yep.
1-2 to T.J. Rivera. It's a fidgety guy.
Yes, he is.
Jason Mott.
Yep.
Throwing that beard back. Rivera lines one in left center for a base hit. Inciarte gets over and cuts it off. T.J. Rivera has his 2nd hit of the night, a 2-out single. So the Mets with a 2-out base runner.
And look who's up. Welcome back. He likes that fastball, Rivera. He turns on that one beautifully.
So that'll get Wilmer Flores his first at bat since coming back from the disabled list today. Mets were not really planning to bring Wilmer back today. They were going to wait till tomorrow when the Braves were starting the lefty, but with d'Arnaud's injury, they didn't want to play short on the bench. And so Wilmer was activated today after picking up 2 hits in a rehab game last night. Wilmer was in the hospital for 4 days as they gave him intravenous IV for a staph infection in his knee. His knee really swelled up. He said it wasn't that painful. It's just it was so swollen, both his knee and also up near his hip.
You got to worry about those staph infections. I'm telling you. There's that MRSA going around now that's much more prominent.
And Wilmer takes a strike on the outside corner. Well, it was a scary few days for Flores, and he said the doctors have told him they still don't know exactly why it happened. It could have been a hair, it could have been a mosquito bite, anything that could have sparked the infection. Ball and a strike to Wilmer. Well, it's all gone now, and he's hoping to hit the ground running.
Heavy antibiotics when you have a staph infection.
He fouls back the fastball, 1-2. This is never easy for Wilmer against right-hand pitching, but he just loves to hit lefties. He'll get the chance to do that tomorrow against Garcia. TJ Rivera's base hit, the Mets' 13th of the night.
Rivera had like a 2-foot lead, and he dove back into the bag.
Just in case.
Better safe than sorry, right?
Once bitten, twice shy.
It's not a strong lead.
I was just thinking of some more cliches we could throw at each other. Live and learn.
It's always a very laid-back crowd here, isn't it?
Let's just say they're waiting for something to happen. And Wilmer flies one out to right. It's carrying out to Markakis, and he goes back near the edge of the warning track to get it. Routine fly balls are interesting here, aren't they? A hit and one left. Stretch time. 9-5 New York. Tonight as they go to 18-9. Meanwhile, the Mets in a high-scoring affair again here in Atlanta, lead 9-5, going to the bottom of the 7th. And Addison Reed will pitch the 7th inning tonight.
Well, Terry mentioned that he got Blevins. He can flip-flop Blevins and Reed depending on the lineup of the opposing team.
And you got the big right-hand hitter Matt Kemp leading off, and Kemp takes outside for ball 1. Kemp 1 for 3, singled and scored a run in the 5th. Mets 9 runs, 13 hits. The Braves 5 runs and 8 hits. Now in the bottom of the 7th. And a check swing. And apparently the home plate umpire said he went around 1-1. Terry Collins, who has known Matt Kemp since the day he signed with the Dodgers. Terry was the farm director with the Dodgers then. Kemp, who had some extraordinary years with the Dodgers. Leg injuries have robbed him of some of his speed, but he can still hit. Makes a big rip at a slider, and it's 2-2.
This is a high slider to hit. He just missed it.
Just off the corner with the fastball. Well, Reed has gone through some difficulties over the last week or so. Gave up a hit to Kemp on Monday night, but then retired the next 3 hitters. And Kemp hits one out toward right center. Granderson back onto the warning track, and he runs it down a step or 2 from the wall.
The ball was not hit that good where it went, Garrett.
Well, it feels redundant to keep saying it, but that ball just kept on carrying.
He reached out and touched it with one hand. This is just
something about the air currents in this ballpark. It just flies. So 1 long out, and now Markakis takes a big cut. 0-1. Nick Markakis 1 for 3 on a base hit and scored a run in the 4th. Slider at his feet. The ball and a strike. Jacob DeGrom went 5, allowed 5 runs, 8 hits, 5 walks, 5 strikeouts. Still stands to be the winning pitcher. Josh Edgen worked a 1-2-3-6. Then now Reed in the 7th. Quick pitch, and Markakis fouls it back. 1-2. Eric O'Flaherty, the left-hander, up in the Braves bullpen.
He's kind of O'Flaherty is rebounded from that horrific opening appearance he had at Citi Field. He walked the ballpark.
He looked good last night.
He did, and he's pitched well ever since then.
Of course, his stint as a Met 2 years ago was not a flattering one. Rivera sets up inside, and Reed comes low and in with the slider. 2-2. Lofted down the left field side, and that'll go out of play. You know, we've talked about some of the attributes of this ballpark, and there are many, but one that I don't like, they don't have a permanent out-of-town scoreboard. They'll put them up there occasionally and flip them back and forth, but they'll also use that board for other things. So there are times between innings to look around for the out-of-town scores, and they're nowhere to be found. Swing and a miss, and Markakis is down on strikes. 94-mile-an-hour fastball from Reed, and that's the 2nd out.
Slider right down the pipe. Not much of a break. Upstairs, swung right through it. Reed throws hard.
So 2 out and nobody on. Not Tyler Flowers. Flowers has not been hitting for much power, but he has been piling up the base hits early in the season. He's 2 for 2 and a walk today. 10 hits in his last 18 at bats. He's got 21 hits now. 2 doubles, no home runs.
He's hitting over 400.
Yeah,
too. 404.
So he's piling up the hits. He's not, he's not, hitting for much of a slugging percentage, but his batting average is awfully good.
Ted Williams.
Well, can't hit a lot of home runs. 521. 1-2 now to Flowers. And his last one and his last ever at bat. Kid bids Hub adieu.
Yep.
As John Updike wrote it.
And the season wasn't over. They went on to play the last series on the road and up at Yankee Stadium, and Ted did not. I don't think he went with the club.
I think that was prearranged that he was going to finish at home.
Yep.
And Crowd gave him a big cheer, and he didn't tip his cap.
He never did that, and the love-hate relationship with the media. Oh, it wasn't even a love-hate. He didn't care for the media.
No. But he had a lot to say, especially after he retired. 2-2 to Flowers. Two coming. And Flowers able to waste it away. Seventh pitch of the at bat coming to Flowers. And it's off the corner, full count. Now the 3-2. Lifted to right. And Bruce is there. That retires the side, so Reed comes in, and after edging through a 1-2-3 6th, Reed throws a 1-2-3 7th on to the 8th. 9-5 New York. Sure they had room for, right? I mean, it's almost comical when you think about it. It's a month since opening day and how much has changed. Michael Conforto has only been the Mets' best player. Eric O'Flaherty is in to face him as we start the 8th inning.
Well, he sat there and stayed prepared and stayed ready and got his opportunity. They're not going to get him out of the lineup now.
1 for 4 tonight, and a rare at bat against the lefty. What'd you say, 8 at bats against lefties this year?
Yeah, 1 for 8, and that was the home run.
Well, we talked about Addison Reed pitching the 7th rather than the 8th, and didn't look like Addison was all that happy about it. And Terry Collins went to him in the dugout and explained to him why he pitched the 7th, and it looks like Hansel Robles is going to pitch the 8th. Probably saying he'd rather Reed face the middle of the order and Robles face the bottom of the order. But Addison looked like he had a death stare on as he came to the dugout after that inning.
Different ball of wax today. to be a major league manager.
2-2 to Conforto.
Like he said, my fault.
Don't know.
It's not necessary. Here to skip.
Well, you know, relief pitchers love to know when they're going to pitch. As Conforto finds a hole, and he's got his second hit of the night. But, you know, it's always been kind of axiomatic. You know, your role as a relief pitcher is to pitch when the manager asks you to pitch.
It's pretty much the role for 25 players. The manager is the boss, and you know, Reed is used to being, you know, it's a coveted role, the setup role. It's like next to being the closer,
right?
And a feeling of maybe being put back, you know, down in the food chain one. So who knows what's going on?
It'll be interesting to hear Terry's thoughts about this, because you know there's been a lot of conversation, especially since the postseason last year, about using your best pitchers in the highest leverage situations. Now, you know, Reed was brought into the 7th to face the middle of the order. It looks like Robles is going to pitch the 8th against the bottom of the order. That makes sense.
It does.
But the way bullpens have been structured in, you know, the last 30 years, it might not have made sense to Addison Reed. Now, whether that was Terry's rationale or whether there was a my fault in there, maybe the my fault was, sorry, I didn't warn you about it in advance. I don't know. We'll find out more from Terry and hear from Addison Reed perhaps about it as well. But it is part of the care and feeding of the modern athlete that they feel as though they need a little more of an explanation of how they're going to be used than maybe was the case in a prior generation. 3-0 now to Asdrubal Cabrera as the Mets look to build on to this 9-5 lead in the 8th against O'Flaherty, who worked a scoreless inning last night. And there's ball 4, so the Mets have 2 men on. So a single for Conforto, a walk to Cabrera, and now Jay Bruce will bat with 2 men on base. Jay tonight has gone 0 for 3 and a walk. And he'll get his 2nd straight at bat against the lefty. Here's your Mets box score, brought to you by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. No home runs tonight for the Mets, but 14 hits. And 6 different players have 2 hits tonight, including Jacob DeGrom, who had 2 hits and 2 RBIs. Better offensive numbers than pitching numbers tonight for Jake, but he's in line for a win. And Bruce goes after the sinker, 0-1. Jay coming off his first ever 6 RBI game last night. And he fouls it back. And quickly 0-2. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. We asked who gave up Bartolo Colon's first career extra base hit. He said he was not going to think about it.
Oh, it's recent.
Very recent.
Was that the one in that game when he played in that hot day? He got the double down the line, the left field line. Was that the game? Remember how hot it was?
In St. Louis, or was it in New York? I don't remember.
I think it was in St. Louis, but I didn't have the game. I was watching on TV. It was in St. Louis.
Brutally hot afternoon.
Yes, remember he had to run the bases, and you and Ronnie were having a
little chuckle about that.
Yes, I thought it was very heartless. I was just sitting on the couch.
Yeah, well, you would probably be heartless from the couch. It's all of a piece.
Line the other way, and Bruce has a base hit. Conforto to third. He'll be held up there, but it's booted in left field. And now Conforto confused, but he's going to stay put.
Now, Glenn Sherlock has been playing extremely cautiously since he got a runner thrown out of the plate at Citi Field last week. And here against Matt Kemp, he stops Conforto at third, but then Kemp boots the ball.
Nice hitting, first of all, by Bruce. Love it, him going the other way. And it is muff. That's why when you get held up, you still take a turn. Okay, you're being held up, but take a hard turn. Take a hard turn and put the ball up.
So the Mets have the bases loaded and nobody out, and Neil Walker coming up. Neil is 2 for 3 in a walk tonight. He's driven in 1. He's scored 2. And O'Flaherty misses up and away for ball 1. So the Mets with a chance to break this game open in the 8th inning. They've been trying to do that all night. At one point led 9-3, now up 9-5. And now O'Flaherty behind on Walker, 2-0. Cole and Jason Mott each threw a scoreless inning for the Braves after Josh Colmenter gave up 4 runs in the 5th. And now a visit from the pitching coach Chuck Hernandez as O'Flaherty struggles here in the 8th. And that'll get the Braves bullpen going again. Final game of the series in the road trip tomorrow night, with Zach Wheeler making the start for the Mets. Our coverage begins at 6:30 tomorrow night right here on SNY. Now Walker in an advantageous spot here, ahead in the count 2-0 with the bases loaded. And Neal takes it high. Now it's 3-0.
Jeez.
Well, O'Flaherty has already issued 1 4-pitch walk in this inning.
It's got to be a take here. It's the chance for the Mets just to put this game to bed.
Granderson on deck. And Walker takes a 3-0 swing. How about that?
Wow.
3-0 with the bases loaded, and he gets the hit sign. Neal has 2 hits and 6 career at bats against O'Flaherty, and trying to take a whack at a 4-runner. Three-one coming, and he loops one into shallow center field. On comes Inciarte, and he makes the catch, and everybody's going to have to get back. Inciarte was playing pretty deep. They got a good break on that ball to retire Walker for the first out. And Cabrera comes up nursing that knee again as he went quickly back into second base.
Nice play by Inciarte.
So now it's Granderson, who's 2 for 4 tonight, a pair of doubles. He's driven in 1. He's scored 2.
Now they got to get some runs in here. Break this open.
Conforto at third, Cabrera at second, Bruce at first with 1 out. And Curtis takes one in the dirt for ball 1.
Well, better safe than sorry. The throw wasn't the second, but he did the right thing there. He had a good
again wincing as he made that slide. And Curtis grounds one to first. Freeman's coming home with it. He gets the force there. The relay, though, not in time. So Freeman, who was not playing all the way in, nonetheless came home for the force to get the second out.
Well, you know, Gary, if the infields are so fast today, and you can play back because the ball gets to you so fast. Boy, they come away with nothing here. What a lost opportunity.
So it's a 3-2 fielder's choice for the second out. It's left to Reyes with the bases loaded and 2 down. Reyes has driven in 2 runs tonight with a single and a sacrifice fly, 1 for 3. Cabrera at third, Bruce at second, Granderson at first. And Reyes lays off, ball 1. Tonight when the Mets are trying to out-hit their mistakes. Reyes made one on the bases when he was tagged going back into second on a routine fly ball.
Walker made the first mistake.
Right, when he forgot how many out there were and got doubled off second base.
That was in the first inning.
But the Mets have hit plenty tonight, 8 for 14 with runners in scoring position, and Reyes looking to pick up the 2-out RBI here. 2-0 from O'Flaherty.
And he laces one deep to left center field. Kemp won't get there, and that ball short hops the wall. Cabrera is in. Bruce scores. Granderson heads home. It's a bases clearing double for Jose Reyes. He's got a 5 RBI night, and the Mets now lead it 12-5. Big hit for Reyes to break this game open.
Well, I think Jose is out of his doldrums, out of his long slump. He's starting to hit now, and that's a big one right there. 2 out, 3 RBI double. That breaks this game open.
And stayed in play, which enabled the Mets to get the 3rd run home on that play rather than bouncing out of play. And that's going to be all for Eric O'Flaherty. Brian Snitker's going to the home plate umpire, and he's going to make a double switch. So the Mets, with their 4th crooked number of the night, put up a 3 spot in the 8th and still going. 12-5 New York. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. We'll be right back to Atlanta. They have what they call Monument Garden, which is just a beautiful outpost. They've got all sorts of memorabilia, bats and rings and balls and just lots of stuff all the way back from the beginnings of the Braves franchise in Boston in the 1870s, and of course featuring Henry Aaron and his exploits.
That statue of him with that top hand coming over was, Aaron was such a great wrist hitter. That captured memories for me, seeing Henry hit over the years.
New battery for the Braves. Kurt Suzuki catching, Matt Whistler pitching, Rene Rivera hitting, and takes a breaking ball for a strike, 0-1.
And Whistler gave up 4 spot last night. The grand slam to, and look at the ERA, that got juiced to Bruce.
Yeah, 4 runs in the 3rd of an inning doesn't help. That's lined into center field. A base hit for Rene Rivera. Reyes is steaming home. Inciarte's throw not in time. Rene Rivera drives in his 3rd run of the night, and the Mets tack on another. It's now 13-5.
Outstanding, Rene.
3-hit, 3 RBI game for Rene Rivera.
Well, I tell you what, they're tattooing some brave relievers. Seven runs off relievers.
4 runs in the inning, all charged to O'Flaherty. And now T.J. Rivera, who has a single and a double tonight. By the way, Reyes with the 5 RBIs tonight ties his career high. You know when he set the career high?
No.
5 days after he got to the big leagues. His debut was June 10th, 2003. 5 days later in Anaheim, Reyes hit his first major league home run, a grand slam in the left field corner in Anaheim. He drove in 5 runs that day. He never did it again in 14 years until tonight.
Now, granted, he's been in a leadoff role most of his career. It's not an ideal RBI spot. Boy, oh boy, I tell you what, I would love to play in this ballpark.
You think?
It's like Denver.
Without all the real estate. I mean, you know, in Coors Field, the ball flies, but you know, one of the reasons why it's such a great hitter's ballpark is because there's so much room in the outfield and you can't cover it all. Here, you know, it's a reasonably sized ballpark, but the ball just flies. 2-2 to TJ. And he hits a rocket over the bag, and that's down the line, and that'll go all the way into the corner. Rene Rivera on his way to third.
Send him.
But Sherlock's going to hold him up. Rene wanted to run right through him. I'm telling you, Glenn has gotten gunshot. It's a double for T.J. Rivera, his 3rd hit of the game. And the Mets have 18 hits now.
His 3rd hit tonight. He's having a big night. 2 doubles.
Now Juan Lagares will pinch it. Batting for Addison Reed, and he takes a strike. And the Mets had Hansel Robles up. He is now sat down, and Fernando Salas is loosening up with now an 8-run lead. And a chance for more here. Lagares, the 9th man up in the inning. Well, the Mets began the night with a team batting average with runners in scoring position of .284. There's Salas. They're 11 for 17 with runners in scoring position in this game. For a team that is generally reliant on the home run, they've scored 13 runs tonight without a single home run. Rounded toward the hole, past Garcia. Swanson kicks it. 1 run is in. T.J. Rivera will stop at 3rd. It's an infield hit for Juan Lagares, and the Mets now lead 14-5. Another hit with a runner in scoring position. That one found a hole. Lagares drives in the run.
Found that hole all night. Garcia hasn't got great range to his left. Boy, oh boy. A bat around.
Michael Conforto, who led off the inning with a base hit against O'Flaherty. 2 for 5 on the night. 1st and 3rd and 2 out. 5 runs home in this 8th inning as the Mets have seemingly put this game to bed. Doesn't mean you can't stay up for the rest of it.
Conforto whacks one to left center field. Another extra base hit. T.J. Rivera is in. Lagares will be waved home. It's a 2-run double for Michael Conforto, and the Mets have scored 7 times in the 8th inning. It's now 16-5 New York. The Mets' 20th hit of the night.
3 hits for the youngster. Continues his hot roll. And adding 2 RBIs onto it. A high fastball straight to string.
Well, the Mets, who gave up 23 runs 3 days ago, are having a cathartic night tonight. 16 runs and 20 hits of their own.
I have a strange feeling this is going to get Whistler on that shuttle back to AAA.
It is fun to watch Juan Lagares run the bases.
Well, he cuts the corners better than anybody on this team. A little wide right there, but he can fly.
Asdrubal Cabrera walked earlier in the inning. Asdrubal's also been hit by a pitch. He doubled back in the first. 1 for 3 on the night. He scored 3 runs. Well, think about the odds of this particular team scoring 16 runs without a home run. Cabrera lifts one out to left center, and Ciarte gets over. And the inning finally comes to an end, but 11 Mets came to bat, and 7 of them scored. To the bottom of the 8th we go, with the Mets up 16-5.
It's time for the bullpen.
Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Changes for the Mets. Jose Reyes moves to shortstop. Matt Reynolds in to play third. Juan Lagares stays in center, and Fernando Salas in to pitch. Jace Peterson swings and misses to start the bottom of the 8th.
Well, Salas looking for having a decent outing. It's been tough on him. Look at the numbers, don't lie right there. A lot of base runners.
This is a good spot for Fernando with the huge lead. Peterson tried to hold the swing, but he went around, and it's 0-2. Mets bullpen has been good so far tonight. Edgin and Reed each gave the Mets a 1-2-3 inning when it was still a closer ball game. Now the Mets, having put up 7 runs in the top of the inning, sporting an 11-run lead. Peterson, Swanson, and Suzuki up for the Braves in the 8th. And Salas misses 1-2. Fernando pitched last night for 2/3 of an inning, allowed a run on 2 hits. One-two coming. Pulled down to first, and T.J. Rivera will make the flip to Salas for the first out. Driver on the majors presented by Audi. Jacob Turner 4 scoreless innings in relief as the Nats beat the Diamondbacks tonight. Billy Hamilton's 3-run homer helped the Reds beat the Pirates as Rookie Davis got his first major league win. Love that name, Rookie. He's a rookie. And the Cubs leading the Phillies in the 8th. Cubs won last night. huge night for Pedro Baez, or Javier Baez, excuse me. Here's Dansby Swanson, who's been up 3 times and walked all 3 times against Jacob DeGrom. And he takes a fastball outside. That's a lot of runs and a lot of hits.
And no home runs.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yep. 28 hits in this game, all in the ballpark. 2-0 to Swanson. Does not seem to be attracting any strikes tonight. And Swanson pops one up. Walker with the angle. And it's Rivera reaching back, and he can't make the catch. That should have been Walker's ball all the way. I don't know why he gave way to Rivera. But TJ lunged for it at the last moment and couldn't come up with it.
And he's got the best angle here, unless he's called up.
That's got to be his ball.
It's his ball.
That'll be an error charge to Rivera, but that's some poor communication there.
Well,
so the Mets commit their first error of the night. 1 out and 1 on. Now Kurt Suzuki, who came into the double switch in the last inning. Suzuki caught last night, was on base 3 times, and got hit in the midsection at one point by a Matt Harvey fastball, and also had to handle the knuckleball of R.A. Dickey for 6 innings last night, which was no easy task. And now Salas behind him, 2-0. Well, early in the season, Salas was heavily worked and heavily successful. But ever since that 16-inning game in Miami, things have gone south for him. He's a guy who relies on precision, doesn't throw particularly hard, and he is just not hitting his spots.
He's upstairs a lot. When you don't throw hard, you can't be up there. And you're straight. He's fairly straight.
I think it's fairly easy to ascertain that the Mets are in the market for a right-handed reliever, but those are hard to come by this early in the season. Anybody of quality is going to command way too high a price.
Well, there's not going to be much traffic after this game, I guarantee you that. Everybody's fled this park.
It's a strike, 3-1.
Hardly anybody here anymore. Looks like an old crowd at Shea Stadium.
Or Fulton County Stadium back in the day.
Back those down days.
Used to get those 4,000 and 5,000 crowds in Atlanta.
It's probably our viewers too.
Fly ball foul. Well, you know,
you never know.
Mets fans stick around, particularly when their team's winning, scoring 16 runs.
Yes, we do know the demographic, don't we?
Yes. Yes.
Makes me think the TV is there's a big eye in the TV that's got everybody. Those boxes, or those cable boxes. There's something in there.
You mean that they're looking back at us?
No, I don't know about that. But
we're looking back at them.
They know your viewing habits. I'm not too kosher to that.
That's drilled into left field, a base hit for Suzuki. Cut off by Conforto. Swanson stops at third. And Suzuki will be held to a single. That's a good play by Conforto to keep that ball from getting to the wall.
Well, he does the right thing here, throwing to the second base. Keep the runner on first. Things continue to be tough on Salas.
Nothing easy for him right now. Now he's going to face Inciarte with first and third and 1 out. Inciarte 0 for 3 and a walk tonight. Has not had the ball out of the infield. And swings the first pitch slider and fouls it off.
Back leg kicks up a little bit there.
Weird turn. That's tough on your hip.
Your hip flexors.
Walker and Reyes at double play depth, and Rivera knocks down a potential wild pitch. 1-1. Well, if Salas is going to struggle, this is the kind of game that you'd like to see him try to work stuff out. Robles and Smoker get up in case the Mets need to go deeper into their bullpen, but with an 11-run lead, you would certainly hope that's not the case. 1-2 to Inciarte. Well, the Marlins finally scored some runs tonight. They beat the Rays 10-6. Miami had really been struggling, losing 6 of 7. And putting up some paltry offensive numbers. 1-2 coming. And it's foul back. Mets will see the Marlins when they get home Friday night for a 3-game series that will end this opening stretch of more than a month of just facing the National League East. Is familiarity starting to breed contempt?
Well, it certainly hasn't worked out the way they would have liked it. They're going to have probably a losing record in division. There we go.
Inciarte pops one up, and Reyes takes charge of it, and that's the second out.
Yeah, you're mad. You got an easy. Just put the ball anywhere in play and get an RBI.
Inciarte is used to doing major damage against the Mets, but not tonight. 0 for 4. And now it's Adonis Garcia, who has an infield hit in 4 trips. Yankees won again tonight, beat the Blue Jays 8-6. Aaron Judge hit his 13th home run. You looked at that kid? It's massive.
He's a big guy.
I mean, he's got Frank Howard size. He's just enormous. Garcia hooks the curveball foul.
What is he, the 3rd Yankee to hit 12 home runs? Now he's got more in 25 games. First 25 games. Wasn't it Ruth and A-Rod that did it?
Pretty good company.
Very good company.
Ruth and J-Lo's date.
Wow. Depends on your point of view.
Fly ball into right center. And Lagares comes over. And that retires the side. So Salas able to work around trouble in the bottom of the 8th. On to the 9th we go with the Mets up 16-5. Doug apparently is our 20-hit studio guy, so he'll be in the chair tonight alongside Nelson after we're done here. Jay Bruce leading off in the 9th inning against Matt Whistler, who faced 5 batters and gave up 4 hits in the 8th inning. That's put up a 7 spot in that 8th. 4 of the runs charged to Eric O'Flaherty, and the last 3 to Whistler. Bruce is 1 for 4 and a walk tonight. Neil Walker on deck, and then Matt Reynolds, who's hitting in the 5 spot in the batting order after Granderson came out of the game. And Whistler quickly behind 3-0. Let me ask you a question. This ball 4 to Bruce. Is there an unwritten rule about not swinging 3-0 in a lopsided game?
You better not.
So you're saying there is?
You do not. You do not swing 3-0.
So is it like stealing a base in a lopsided game?
Exactly the same thing. Yep. This is we'll ease the pain. You want to get your hit. If you score runs, you do it legitimately.
So you wait for your 3-1 pitch as opposed to swinging on 3.
Correct.
Here's Walker, who's 2 for 4 on a walk, and he takes a strike.
I mean, it's not your fault that they gave up 16 runs. It's not your fault that you're 3-0.
Freeman on the backhand, out at second. Swanson's relay not in time, so they get the 3-6 force on Bruce for the first out. And Walker aboard.
Freddie's very sure-handed. He's very adept at getting rid of the ball and giving a good accurate throw to the shortstop.
Now Matt Reynolds will bat for the first time. Came in to play third base in the last inning. Had at bat last night. Flied out in the 9th inning. 1 for 5 since being called up. Jose Reyes, who already has 5 RBIs tonight, is on deck, so he may get a chance to add to that career high tying total.
There are 10 RBIs in that bottom of the order, Gary, from that 6, 7, 8, 9 for the Mets.
5 for Reyes, 3 for Rene Rivera, 2 for Jacob DeGrom, 1 for Lagares off the bench. To Reynolds. Well, coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night after the post game, we're topping with football news in May. That's great. Then there's the Rangers game 4 coming up. Big win last night, and then the Derby is this Saturday.
Oh, that's right.
I bet you there'll be baseball news as well on Geico Sports Night after the post game. Reynolds lays off the breaking ball, and it's 2-2. One of the things about having just a sparse gathering at the end of a game like this, you can hear just about every fan.
Yes.
And there are fans, believe it or not, right now down in the lower stands trying to do the wave, which is really hard to do with about 150 people in a ballpark. Reynolds strikes out for the second out. But I give them a lot of credit for trying. So Braves fan, he's bored. Met fans keeping their concentration. So here's Reyes, driven in 5 runs tonight with a single, a sac fly, and then a bases clearing double his last time up. "14 years after his last 5 RBI game. When Reyes came to the big leagues in 2003, it was a day before his 20th birthday, which put him in a small cadre of big leaguers who have been in the major leagues as teenagers. 2-1 to Jose. We actually have a wave going. This is very impressive. I'm not a big fan of the wave, but to have the wave when there's virtually nobody in the ballpark, it's a great effort by these fans. Inside to Reyes, and it's 3-1.
I think it's just
at each stop, there's like one person.
It's just their way of throwing.
There you go.
Their way of throwing in the towel.
That's very impressive, I have to say. Battling the odds. And there's ball 4, and Reyes is on base again. So Whistler issues his second walk of the inning. Whistler was in the Braves rotation much of last year. But boy, has he struggled coming out of the bullpen in this series. And now Rene Rivera, who's driven in 3 runs tonight. Rene has 3 singles, 3 RBIs. Now up to the 6th time. And he takes a whack, hits one deep to center. Back goes Inciarte onto the warning track to make the catch. And that retires the side. We are heading for the bottom of the 9th inning in Cobb County, Georgia, with the Mets up by 11. Sure what that mask is exactly.
I have no.
I mean, the kid with the gator, that's pretty obvious, but I'm not sure. Is that a chicken on his head?
Yeah, it's a chicken.
I believe that is a chicken.
Yep.
Okay. Josh Smoker will try and get the final 3 outs of the night.
It would be nice if he did that.
Freddie Freeman leads off and takes up and away for ball 1. Well, like Salas, Smoker needs one of these games, these lopsided games, to try and get himself righted. Been a rough go for him the last couple of weeks. Faced 3 batters, gave up 2 hits last night. He did retire Freeman on a ground ball, but then gave up a single and a double, and both those runners came home. Matt Kemp on deck, then Nick Markakis. And Freeman fouls one away, 1-2. Freddie's 1 for 4 tonight, drove in a run with a 3rd inning single. Mets built an early 5-0 lead. Braves got it back to 5-3. Mets went up 9-3, then 9-5, and so the game was still in the balance until the 8th, when the Mets put up a 7 spot to blow this game open. Slider off the plate. 2-2. Jacob DeGrom gave up 5 runs and walked 5 in 5 innings, but stands to get the win. And the Mets have gotten 3 scoreless innings out of the bullpen. And Freeman strikes out. Changeup from Smoker to get him 1 out.
Freddie chased it. That's twice he struck out against left-handers tonight.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Matt Kemp, who's 1 for 4, singled back in the 5th inning.
Oh, she's wide awake.
Went off the mask of Rivera. It's a lot of energy for this hour. The advantage is she might sleep late tomorrow.
Well, we have that option too.
Well, with babies, you never know exactly how they're going to adjust to the nocturnal schedule.
Oh, well, it's been so long, I've forgotten.
To get you back in touch.
No.
On your paternal side. 0-2 to Kemp. I mean, you have grandkids.
Oh, I know, but they're up in Breckenridge, up in the mountains. See them in the off season twice. That's enough.
Kemp goes down, strikes, and that's the 2nd out. So, you know, it's nice to have. I've not had grandkids yet, so the good part is that you can visit and then give them back.
I like them. You like them as they get older too.
It's Grandpa Keith.
Yeah, that's what they call me. Very good. Oh, of course I'm joking.
To some extent, anyway.
Well, we gotta do.
Braves are down to their final out. Nick Markakis the batter. And Smoker fires a fastball for a strike at 97. Well, if the Mets win this, and it looks likely that they will, they'll leapfrog the Braves again and get out of last place. And we'll have a chance to win this series tomorrow night with the hometown kid Zach Wheeler on the mound against Jaime Garcia. Braves swept 2 from the Mets last week at Citi Field. Mets trying to win 3 out of 4 here. And they are 1 strike away from 2 out of 3 anyway. To Markakis, up and in. No intent, I'm certain. 2-2. Brandon Phillips is out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Markakis keeps it going. The last man left on Brian Snitker's bench. Barry Collins watched his team make some base running mistakes early, but they had out-hit their mistakes tonight. A huge offensive night for the Mets with 16 runs and 20 hits with nary a home run. Now the 2-2 from Smoker. And it's off the plate with the slider. 3-2. And Markakis hits one to Walker's backhand. The quick throw to first. On one hop, Rivera's got it, and that'll do it. The Mets with an enormous offensive night, as without hitting a home run, they put up 16 runs, and they've taken 2 of the first 3 in this series from the Braves. As Jose Reyes ties his career high with 5 RBIs, and the Mets win it 16-5.
20 hits, as Gary said. 3 hits from Conforto, continues his torrid pace. 2 RBIs and 2 doubles for him. Big night for Rene Rivera. Give him a kudo here. 3 for 6 with 3 RBIs.
Game summary presented by StubHub. Jacob DeGrom did pitch very well, but he gets the win. Mets were 12 for 20 with runners in scoring position. That's how you score runs without home runs. And the Mets did that often tonight as they beat the Braves